Okay, hi everybody. Let me sign on to TalkShoe. I'm actually signed on to TalkShoe. Let me get TalkShoe started.
You are joining the online studio. You are unmuted and can speak with the host.
Okay, that's TalkShoe. I hope you can hear me. Okay. Okay, I think I did everything I had to do. So I'm on TalkShoe. I'm on YouTube. And let's see.
Recording started.
Okay, that's TalkShoe. Oh my God. Nothing's changed, right? I'm still late. Let's see. Let's see. So I'm sorry for being late. Kinda. I'm kinda late because I was on YouTube. I don't know. All right. So thank you for joining me. And let's see. So let me read the disclaimer. The opinions expressed on this forum is not representative of PLN's official stance. RX's opinion is based on the information available at the time and not PLN's official stance. Not everyone who calls in is a TI. The gang stalkers have a tendency to pretend to be TIs and interfere with activities related to TIs. PLN and RX can't guarantee that TI Hour participants, including guests, are real TIs or if what is being said by anyone is true. This isn't to invalidate anyone, but to take into consideration that gang stalkers sometimes pretend to be TIs. Okay, so that's a disclaimer. Hi. I'm saying hi because someone wrote on the chat on YouTube, hi. Let's see. All right, so I'm just making sure everything's okay. Okay, so TalkShoe's okay. YouTube's okay. All right, so let's get started. All right, so let's just get okay. So today we're gonna listen to a picture of Dorian Gray. PLN's Patreon has its own book club. If you want to join, it's $20 a month for the Patreon. I could also do a YouTube book club if you guys want to send me some titles that are related to the topics TI Hour discusses. There are some books out there that could be hard to understand, especially if you're not into science. And if you have a book like that that you want to read, but it may be hard to understand, you can recommend it. I'll read it. I can't say that I'm going to fully understand it or explain it clearly, but maybe reading it together in the book club will help give a better understanding. I also can't say I'm going to read every book recommended due to time constraints, but recommend a book and I'll get to as many as I can. So let's see. So this episode, there is no science in this TI hour, but there's a lot of my personal opinion. You don't have to agree with me, but I hope that it will get you thinking about some issues and what is best for you to do if you find yourself in a similar situation or similar situations. Um, it seems that this fictional book has nothing to do with the usual topics. However, you will see it covers so much material in one little book. We did the gaslighting movie. We listened to the gaslighting movie, and the gaslight movie showed how a spouse can gaslight another spouse. And most videos about gaslighting is about romantic relationships. This book shows a friend gaslighting another friend and how that could be done. It also shows how a decent or good young man could be corrupted by an adult man. Even though there is an age difference between the psychopath next door and the victim in this story, the methods the psychopath used could apply to two people of similar ages. The methods would be different based on the age and environment, but there will be similarities. So from now on, I'll refer to the psychopath next door as PND, psychopath next door, because it's just easier than saying psychopath next door all the time. There are differences between the PNDs and the textbook psychopaths. Both have the same evil, murderous nature, but they have different ways of going about things. And I think that the people involved in this network are mostly PNDs. I mean, there are the berserk paths who are your textbook psychopaths, but I think a lot of them are PNDs. And you could tell by the way they're going about things. So with that said, let's get started. So I thought about maybe I should, I was thinking about maybe like getting the movie so, you could watch it with me, but I think listening to it would be a lot better because then you could use your imagination and, I think it's more interesting that way, You might not think so, but I think so. Because you're not going to be as distracted by the visuals and everything, and you'll actually listen to the script and what is said. So with that said, let's get started. It's going to be the usual. Every 15 minutes, I'll stop, comment, and stuff like that. If you want to comment, comment. If you don't want to comment, that's fine. And I didn't give you the talk show information. And yeah, never feel forced to comment or say anything. Do it at your own time, at your own speed. I just got into TalkShoe. Hi. All right. So TalkShoe, if you want to call, let me get the information to call. If you want to call, it's 1-605-562-0444, and that's the US. If you want to call from a different country, you could let me know, and I will give you that number. And the show ID is 8813724. If you forget that, just let me know and I'll read it again. One thing I did notice about TalkShoe was that when you call in, and I don't know if that just happened for me or if it happens all the time, when you call in, it shows your parts of your phone number. So I don't know if it's better. You don't have to call in. You could just chat in. TalkShoe also has a chat option. So I think you have to sign up for it and then you could chat in. All right. With that said, so what's going to happen is going to be the same thing as gaslighting. I'm going to be narrating the movie and you're going to listen to it and then I'm going to comment on it. So let's get started.
A man's destiny, some say, is written in the stars. All he'll ever do, all he'll ever love, all he'll ever be, the whole of his life is inscribed in the heavens, some say. Others claim to see the truth in other places. In a deck of cards, the palm of a hand, a crystal ball, or the bottom of a cup. Perhaps it's in all of those. Perhaps none of them.
It's just showing a picture of a fireplace.
For my part, the only glimpses of the future fate ever provided were in men's faces. There I've read passion, greed, hatred, envy, and knowing what had been, knew also what had to be. So many faces. Too many, and most of them not very pleasant. The face of Sir Harry Wotton, rich, idle, bored with life, a man who, to use his own words, knew the price of everything, the value of nothing. The face of Basil Hallward, a kind and generous man, a superb painter, as good a friend as I ever knew. So many faces to read the future in, their futures and my own.
So you see Basil, he's the painter.
I wasn't expecting you.
He's supposed to be the good guy.
Precisely why I'm here.
And that's Harry, the bad guy.
I've from you for weeks, Basil. They're wondering what's happened.
Oh, you see, I've been quite busy.
I could have guessed that much. A new work. Must be something rather special. Hey, wait.
Don't.
You don't want me to see it?
No. That is, not till it's finished.
You're being most mysterious today, Basil. I wonder why.
Harry's looking at the picture now.
Why, this is excellent. Really excellent. I think it may be the best thing you've ever done.
Yes, I feel sure that it is.
When it's finished, you must send it to the Grosvenor. Yes, the Grosvenor's the only place. The Academy is so large and vulgar. Whenever I've been there were either so many people who couldn't see the pictures, which was dreadful, or so many pictures you couldn't see the people, which was worse.
Actually, I don't think I'd send it anywhere.
Not send it anywhere. What odd fellows you artists are. You do anything in the world to gain a reputation, and once you have, you seem to want to throw it away. It's very foolish of you. There's only one thing worse than being talked about, and that is not being talked about.
I really can't exhibit it, Harry. It's hard to say why. Put so much of myself into it. Something happened to me while painting. Some strange force seemed to be guiding my brush. It's almost as if I was painting my own soul. I knew you'd laugh. It's true all the same.
Who is your subject, by the way? Have I met him? You haven't? What's his name?
I don't think I'll tell you.
Tell me. But why shouldn't you?
For one thing, he wouldn't interest you. He's a very simple, very innocent young man.
Oh, really? Well, then perhaps you're right. All the same, there is something about your young friend that fascinates me. Oh, come, you know I can keep a secret. I'm a married man, and the one charm of marriage is that it makes a life of deception absolutely necessary.
I'd rather you didn't know. I don't want you to meet him. Your influence would be bad.
Oh, thank you for the compliment. I know I do like persons better than principles, and I like persons with no principles better than anything else in the world. Oh, come, don't be tiresome. Tell me his name.
Mr. Dorian Gray is here, sir.
Ask him to wait in the library.
Very good, sir.
Oh, Parker, just a moment. Some new young friend, someone I should know.
You may show Mr. Gray in, Parker.
Yes.
Basil did that hesitating. He didn't want him to meet Dorian.
Nonsense you do talk, Basil.
Basil. I call him Basil.
The young
Basil.
gentleman in question is one of these charming, brainless types, the delight of hostesses in search of a table setting. They're most valuable in the winter. No flowers.
The stars, the cards, the human face. What good does it do to read the future in any of them if the words cannot be changed? And if they cannot, then only one question remains. Who does the writing?
That's Dorian.
If I knew the answer to that, if I could be sure, then I would know whether to curse God for what my life has been, or praise the devil.
You're hearing his thoughts. He's going to narrate his own thoughts. So they're just showing a picture of him that Basil drew.
Surely you must have met Lady Brandon by now. She gives more dinners than anyone else in London. The food, at least, is excellent. Poor dear. She wanted to establish a salon and succeeded
That's
only
Harry
in opening
speaking.
a restaurant.
In case you
Yes,
don't
I think I
recognize the
met her.
voices.
She has rather a shrill voice, hasn't she?
She is a peacock in everything but beauty.
Dorian, please, I'm almost finished. Harry, really, I must beg you. I want to finish this sitting. Do you mind if I ask you to go away now?
Oh, of course, if I'm disturbing you, I'll be delighted to leave. That is, if Mr. Gray would excuse me.
No. No, I won't. You must stay and talk to me, Sir Harry. Basil, you don't really mind, do you? You've often told me you like your subjects to have someone to chat to. Sir Harry has been telling me about some friends of his in the theatre.
Sir Harry is an evil influence. Pay him no mind.
Is it true, Sir Harry,
What?
that you're an evil influence?
Of course. All influences are evil, Mr. Gray.
Why do you say that?
Because to influence someone is to change their true course in life. You become the echo of somebody else's music, an actor in a part that was written for somebody else. The aim of life is self-development, to realize one's own nature perfectly. And the highest of all duties is the duty we owe ourselves.
Surely there's something higher.
Dorian looks
Ethics,
disturbed.
Morality.
No, only terror. The terror of society, which is the basis of morality, and the terror of God, which is the secret of religion.
That's Sir Harry speaking.
It takes courage, Mr. Gray, to realize one's own nature fully and completely. The bravest man among us
Sir Harry
is
standing right
afraid
next
of
to
himself,
Dorian.
of his desires. We are punished for our refusals. Every impulse we strangle broods in the mind and poisons us. You, Mr. Gray, you yourself have had passions that made you afraid, thoughts that have filled you with terror, daydreams and dreams asleep, the very memory of which can make you tremble.
There.
That's Basil.
Finished. All but a bit of the background. I can work that up later.
So Basil was
Thank
painting.
you, Dorian. More than I can say. I don't
Dorian
know
was
what
standing for
Harry's
the
been
picture.
telling you, but it must have been interesting. You haven't moved.
Oh, I was simply explaining to Mr. Gray that the easiest way to get rid of a temptation is to yield to it.
You know you don't mean that.
But the value of an idea has nothing to do with the sincerity of the man who expresses it.
He's bad.
You are glad you've met me, Mr. Gray.
Yes. I'm glad I've met you. I wonder, shall I always be glad?
Now, what's this? Not in bed yet. My mind, it's after 6 o'clock already. Now what?
That's Basil's niece.
The door.
Very well. You may tell your Uncle Dory good night.
I say, you have been busy of late. When did this happen?
Ah, Beatrice. Poor child. She's my younger brother's daughter. He and his wife were touring the continent last summer. An inn where they were staying burnt during the night.
Oh, I am sorry, Basil. I hadn't heard.
Well, she's coming here to stay with me. I hope she'll be happy. She loves Dorian, of course.
Dorian.
How could she help it?
You promise now?
I won't forget.
You must wait until I'm all grown up. And then we shall be married.
All right.
The niece wants to marry Dorian.
It does, doesn't it?
Now, come along. You must get your sleep if you're going to grow up quick and marry Dorian. You haven't looked at your picture yet. Don't you want to?
Oh, yes. Is it?
So Dorian was playing with the niece.
Well,
She's looking at his picture.
Do I look like that?
let me tuck Beatrice in, then we'll have a drink. Say good night, dear.
Good night, Dory.
One would think that you had never seen yourself before, Mr. Gray.
I feel as though I never have.
The gods have been good to you. They've given you youth and beauty, the only things worth having. The world belongs to you for a season. Unhappily, what the gods give, they quickly take away. You have only a few years in which to live fully and completely. And when youth is gone, you will find that you have no triumphs left. Time is jealous of you. Time will have its revenge. Each month, as it wanes, brings you closer to something dreadful.
Dorian looks
Our
troubled.
limbs fail. Our senses decay. We degenerate into hideous puppets haunted by memories. the memory of passions we were afraid to gratify, of temptations we hadn't the courage to yield to. Youth, Dorian. There is absolutely nothing in the world but youth.
There.
Basil just came back.
I think we've earned it. And you do like it. Good, I'm glad. Most of the credit is yours, you know.
Dorian's still
You're
staring
the
at his
best
picture.
subject I've ever had. You do like it?
Well, of course he likes it. Why shouldn't he? He's a very lucky young fellow.
How sad.
What? What do you mean?
How sad it is. I shall grow old, but this picture will remain always young. My hair will turn grey, my skin will wrinkle, my teeth will rot, while my picture remains exactly as it is now. If only it were the other way.
Dorian.
If it were I who would remain always young, and the picture would grow old. For that, I would give everything.
Dorian.
Yes, everything. For that, I would even give my soul.
Too long.
Ugh.
That.
Harry's happy and smiling evilly. Basil's concerned. Ugh. So now they're just outside. Someone's riding up in a horse and carriage.
For days after that fateful meeting at Basil's studio,
That's
Sir Harry's
Dorian's.
words seem to ring in my mind. The aim of life is to realize one's nature perfectly. But what did that mean? What was my nature? How could I find out? One thing I did understand. Time is jealous, Harry had said, and what the gods give, they quickly take away.
Lord Wooten is here, sir.
Ah, good.
Are you going to be late again this evening, sir?
I do hope so, Victor. Oh, don't scowl, sir. I shall be in excellent company. The very best. I have begun.
Okay, so that's about 15 minutes. So let's talk about that a little bit. You can feel free to comment. Sometimes I can't answer your comments because I'm kind of like narrating the movie for you. All right, so Basil is supposed to be the good guy, and Sir Harry is the bad influence, as you heard. Dorian is a good kid from a good home. Sir Harry is a rich man who appears to like corrupting people. Sir Harry starts on Dorian right away, as you heard. He just like went after him. He's a bad influence, admits to being a bad influence, and then says all influences are evil. He is the psychopath next door, killing people quietly by corrupting them. You'll see what happens to Dorian. In the beginning, Dorian says that ethics and morality are higher than selfishness, but Sir Harry counters that aside from selfishness, only terror exists, terror of society and terror of God. Sir Harry is psychologically attacking Dorian's belief in morality and ethics, his devotion to a higher power, and desire to adhere to societal values. He is saying all these eloquent things, but it all comes down to yielding to temptation and evil. He suggests this is some kind of self-development and the aim of life. He says it takes courage to realize one's own nature fully and completely. He says every impulse we strangle brews in the mind and poisons us. He's telling Dorian to give in to his evil and immoral thoughts, especially the ones that Sir Harry will put in his head later on. Of course, he'll tell Dorian those things came from within. And if Dorian's like, no, I don't think so. I didn't think like that. So Harry's going to be like, well, he'll say, well, that's because, Dorian, you've been suppressing that, you know? And if you ever dealt with like some people like act like these spiritual gurus, and they'll tell you, you know, you want to do this. Oh, I don't think so. No, you've been suppressing it. Stop hiding it. Just let it come out. You know, just, I mean, sometimes they're right, sometimes they're not. So just be careful. So Dorian is still young, and Sir Harry is his elder. Dorian sees no reason for Sir Harry to lie or hurt him. He thinks Sir Harry must be a decent person because he is nice to him, and they have the same inner circle. Okay, I'm just checking. All right. Oh, you'll see. So someone on TalkShoe asked, "What made you want to share this film?" As you watch, you'll see why I shared this film. Okay. So it seems that most evil people want others to believe that they are really evil, but are suppressing it. So they'll tell you, you know, I know you have a dark side. I know you have a bad side. Show it a little bit. You know, it's just like, okay. But it seems like that's, you know, most evil people, they tell you that or whatever. So what Harry said sounds good and daring. I would have eaten that up as a child. However, I was surrounded by adults who had morals, wanted me to be good, but wouldn't let me be naive. I learned early on that there were evil people out there and not every adult was good. Stranger danger was a big theme during my youth, and society at the time raised kids to be aware of bad or evil people. Nowadays, everyone pretends that everybody is good and that there is some good in everybody. I grew up during that societal transition and I definitely bought into it. I was all about making friends with everyone, always looking on the bright side, being happy and finding the good in finding the good in everybody, no matter the bad things that they did. I was all about it. I was just sunshine, and it nearly cost me my life. That's why I do this research to help good people protect themselves. Being good or decent doesn't mean being naive or stupid. You don't have to be a doormat, a punching bag, or let people take advantage of you to be good or decent. I learned that the hard way, and I want to help other good people avoid the trap or get out of the trap of having psychopaths feed off of them. So luckily, I had stranger danger training to fall back on, and the have you all the time societal transition came when I was in my teens. I was able to snap back into the harsh reality of there being real evil in the world and the hard truth that I won't be happy all the time. I was able to avoid getting into some really bad situations or being trapped in really bad situations because of that. So, since my research, I have come to realize that evil people really do exist. There are people who want to hurt others for fun, and that these types target good and decent people. Not all kids are innocent or kind. And I want to help good and decent kids and young adults protect the good in them and not be led down the dark side by a psychopath kid or adult. This information is good for parents who raised or want to raise good and decent children and want to help them stay on or choose the right paths as much as possible, if not all the time. If a parent doesn't know what is going on, she or he can't help the child as much. This is also good for good or decent people who are adults and have somehow been led down the wrong path. It's not too late to try to get back on the right path again. If a good or decent adult is out there and has not been negatively impacted by a psychopath or narcissist, they should pay attention so that they can protect themselves and their families. This is not about religion or spirituality. It's about being safe. It's about being free, safe, and able to live your life without the constant fear of someone in your life hurting you. Being surrounded by the wrong people can take all that away and take all the joy out of life. So how is this relevant to TIs? That's one thing they do. When you're being gaslighted, when they're telling you, when they're trying to like rewrite your history, and I noticed that they do that a lot. A lot of TIs, and it could be true, but I don't know. A lot of TIs, they start out, and when you're in the beginning stage and you're trying to find out what's happening to me, how long has this happened, they have a tendency to try to get you to think that it's been happening all your life. And I just don't believe that's true for most TIs. I don't think it's been happening all your life. I think what they do is they have you think back and then they rewrite your history. Oh yeah, that incident was, yeah, that must have been them, or that must have been them. And it's like, no, because if it's been happening all your life, I think you'd be more like them than human, So they do. And the reason why they do that is just to take your past away from you. That's why they rewrite your history. Like if you noticed, a lot like when during colonialism and when people take over countries, what they do is they go back and they rewrite history or they clear out the history, and that's to help. And that's a form of gaslighting to make people lose their identity. So next time, like you're going back and you're thinking, you know, you're trying to figure it out, how long this has been happening, and you're like, I think this has been happening all my life, but you are clearly human. I think you should doubt that a little bit because you don't act like that's been happening all your life because you see these people. And if you see a psychopath, if you see a gang stalker, they've been living that all their life, and it shows in the way they act and the way they are. So I don't know. I take it with a grain of salt. Maybe it has. I don't know. I don't know you. I don't know your history, but maybe it hasn't. So just be careful when you're going. Taking a step back and reviewing your history and all that stuff, because they have a tendency to try to make you think things happened that didn't happen, or try to like shade how you like see things. So evil people encourage others to stop suppressing their evil side and embrace it. A lot of people buy into that, and some people who aren't evil repeat that statement. Decent or good people usually interpret that as, oh, I can get mad. I can fight back when someone hurts my feelings. I can cry and be sad all day, all week if I want to, but I'm not suicidal. There is relief in knowing that you can do stuff like that. I can punch a pillow and pretend that it's that stupid girl, you know, and you could punch her. You can't punch her in real life because you'll get in trouble, but you can beat the pillow all you want. However, an evil person or psychopath is telling you it's okay to think about killing that stupid girl, which is not what most good or decent people want to do or think about. Most good or decent people would seek help or counseling if they had thoughts of killing, torturing, or hurting someone really bad. You know, no one is getting hurt when you punch a pillow, but if you start stabbing the pillow with a knife or beating it with a bat, you should be a little bit concerned, you know, because you don't want, you know, if you, first of all, you should realize you're that angry. Okay. And then, you know, you might, you know, and things might have been done to make you that angry, but you need to like realize that you need to work through that anger and get it to the point where you're just punching the pillow and you're okay and you're not like, you know, trying to kill the pillow. But punching pillow, PLN says that don't punch a person, punch a pillow. You're not going to get in trouble for punching a pillow, and you could beat the pillow all you want. And if that helps, and that usually helps like get the anger out so that you don't get in trouble, because, you know, people try to raise your anger to that point. All right. So there are limits and boundaries for decent and good people on how much to give into morally unacceptable or socially unacceptable behavior. I curse. You know, cursing is bad by moral and societal standards, and I should stop cursing. And I will one day, because it's not as cool or relieving as it used to be. I wouldn't teach a child how to curse or encourage a child to curse because that is wrong. That is corrupting an innocent child. Most indecent people would do that and think it's funny. It's not. There's a difference when a child says a curse because she or he heard an adult say it, but the proper response would be to scold the child and say that kids don't say those words. You can laugh about it with other adults, but not around the child or other children. You have to raise kids with moral values, limits, and boundaries, because they will need that to fall back on when they go out into the real world and there are people trying to get them to do bad things or take advantage of them. A child who knows that cursing is bad is less likely to curse out a teacher or a police officer, which could get him or her in trouble. See, so that moral value helps that child stay out of trouble. They're not going to mouth off and curse out a police officer, or they'll be less likely to, you know, because they know cursing is bad. Children don't curse. If I do this, this is going to happen. So that's why you have to give them that to fall back on. A child who knows that cursing is bad is more likely to stay away from adult strangers who are cursing. This is protective because most adults usually curse when they are really mad, and most won't curse in front of a child. So when a child hears an adult cursing, she or he will automatically know something is wrong, and she or he is ready to protect himself or herself or run if something bad happens. So they'll know I need to get away from the situation because it seems like there's some, the adult is cursing, someone must be mad. I'm going to go to where it's safe. I'm going to go find my parent. I'm going to go, me and my friends are going to leave the situation. So you see how like having that as the background helps them stay safer. So TIs, I know that there are issues with gang stalkers using their kids to start issues with them. So don't take any of this personally. I'll probably make a video about that later. As for now, this is referring to normal and general circumstances unless I specifically refer to TIs. So back to the story. So Sir Harry tells Dorian that the easiest way to get rid of a temptation is to yield to it. Basil tells Sir Harry that he doesn't mean that. And Sir Harry responds, the value of an idea has nothing to do with the sincerity of the man who expresses it. He goes on to tell Dorian to live life to the fullest by yielding to every temptation because he won't be young for long. That sounds a lot like what the kids are living by these days. In my day, it was all about living, but in my day, it was all about living life, but being careful of your choices because you may come to regret them. Now, everybody is all about having no regrets, just doing what they want. And look at society today. For example, it doesn't make sense that there is so many AIDS cases, yet the youth is more promiscuous now than ever before, except for maybe around the 1970s. Teen pregnancy is now acceptable and practically promoted on TV. TV shows with kids behaving badly are the most popular. No one is thinking about the future. And it seems like a lot of people are only living for today. While it's true that everybody will die someday and you are not promised tomorrow, the chances of a young person dying the next day is low. Okay. Most kids will live to become adults, and most of them will have to deal with the consequences of the things that they did in their youth. If you lived for the day and took drugs, you could have a drug addiction. You could have a drug addiction to deal with as an adult. If you lived for the day and had unprotected sex, you could have an unwanted pregnancy or STD to deal with the next day, the next week, the next month. Some of the consequences for the things these kids do today can make them wish they died the next day. I'm not promoting suicide or telling anyone to want to die. I'm reminding people that cause and effect still exists and there are consequences for bad behavior. That's why there are so many mental health issues and people are trying to live down their past. It's hard to make good decisions when you are a child, just learning about the world and still very naive. If you had a tough childhood, there are still, even if you had a tough childhood, there are still some things that you don't know about and don't understand. Experience and maturing as an adult helps people understand things on a deeper level. So decisions made as a child is different from decisions made as an adult. I haven't made any detrimental life decisions and I don't have a past to deal with, but there are some things that I definitely would have done differently if I knew then what I knew now. A lot of adults find themselves saying that even as adults. So can you imagine, as a child? So this is a good time to talk about the wild side and the dark side. There's a difference between taking a walk on the wild side and on the dark side. I lived on the wild side while growing up. I did things that teens weren't supposed to do, but my boundaries, morals, and good upbringing stopped me from going down the dark side. I partied in places that I shouldn't have, but I wasn't having sex with every guy I danced with. I drank when I wasn't supposed to, but I didn't get so drunk I didn't remember the night before. As an adult, that is bad and dangerous enough. Drinking till you don't remember what you did the night before. I know everybody thinks that's cool and that's the epitome of a good time, but I think to me, the idea of a good time is to actually remember that you had a good time. But a lot of people are like into that, oh, I got so whatever. So to each his own, right? So as an adult, that could be a bad and dangerous situation because you don't know what happened the night before. You don't know what happened to you. You don't know what you did. So you can imagine how bad and dangerous that can be for a child or teen because children, you could be taken advantage of. You're around other kids and, teens and children shouldn't do that. So, back when I was young, I got into some arguments, but I wasn't getting into fist fights. And I hope you're starting to see the difference between being wild and going on the dark side. My idea of having a good time or being wild wasn't stealing, robbing someone, beating someone up, slipping someone drugs, sexual harassing or molesting someone, conning someone out of their money, bullying or intimidating others, threatening people with bodily harm, eating at a restaurant and not paying, damaging someone's property, ganging up on someone with my friends, humiliating another person to get laughs, taking drugs, etc. That's the dark side, or going to the dark side. That's not being wild. That's like being evil. Okay. You don't want to do that. I didn't go there because that is a slippery slope. You can fall down that hill and hit the bottom quick. I had people who were on the dark side try to tell me I was like them and try to get me to do what they did. But like I said before, a good upbringing, along with ethics and boundaries, prevented me from falling into their trap. Prevented me from falling into their trap. I was being bad sometimes, but I wasn't being evil, and I refused to do evil. Having adults around who kept me on the right track and disciplined me helped a lot. I was good, or at least decent, even when I had no adult to answer to. So even though even though some of those adults weren't perfect and made mistakes, they told me to save myself the trouble and learn from their mistakes. And I have to say that a big reason why it worked out is because, as stubborn as I am, I listened to them and I knew they were only protecting me. I'm not going into religion, but growing up, going to church every Sunday for the most part and taking it seriously also helped a lot. There are definitely bad influences in church, and unfortunately, church is not the safest place for a good person or a good kid. And not all kids who go to church, or even the preacher's kids, are good. And if you grew up regularly going to church, you know that's true. However, taking it seriously and sticking to what the Bible said and not always relying on someone's interpretation and paying attention to the parts that talked about evil or evil people also helped a lot. So even if it's not church or religion, everyone should have some spiritual grounding in being a good person. There are fundamentals of being good, and a lot of it is not open to interpretation. And this is my personal opinion, I don't trust spiritual groups, be it a church or anything else, that blurs the line between the fundamentals of good and bad. So, back to Dorian. Sir Harry definitely got to good, young, and impressionable Dorian. Dorian started becoming more superficial and less ethical. And if you read the book, this is also a book. I'm just showing you the movie because it was faster than reading the book. But check out the book. You could get it. Yeah, just check out the book, and if you want to go into like the methods that Sir Harry used to corrupt Dorian. You'll see more of how Sir Harry psychologically or even gaslighted Dorian. So with that, let's go on to the rest. And if you wrote something, I'm sorry, I was reading. So let's go back. All right.
But only Harry's sponsorship could have gained me such quick acceptance.
Didn't I see you and Harry at the opera, Mr. Gray? Lohengrin, I think it was. Oh, I love Wagner. He's so loud, one can talk the whole time.
Harry's world was by no means limited to expensive homes and exclusive clubs. As well known as he was among the elite, he was equally welcome in places the elite hardly knew existed. Only a few special friends were privileged to go with Harry to these places.
All bets down, all bets down. Dorian, six the winner. Six the winner.
So he's like in some gambling ring or brothel.
Ability to participate in such. I shared my companion's taste. It was only a little while till such excitements became natural to me and a necessary part of my life.
He's like sleeping with prostitutes. Gross. Anyway. So he's at some smutty bar with like really not the best people. It's like, I don't know. It's just a sleazy place. And that's a bar wench. She's kissing Sir Harry.
You see, gentlemen, women treat us exactly the way humanity treats its gods. They worship us. They're always asking us to do things for them. Oh, all right, champagne should be. Or what passes for champagne is established. I say, you girl, 2 bottles of champagne.
Oh, there's a love.
I say, did you hear me?
Sir?
I said bring 2...
Yes, sir. Champagne.
Just a minute, my girl. I haven't seen you here.
Sir Harry's talking to a barmaid.
I thought so.
Please, sir, my wrist.
Dorian likes her.
You're hurting her.
Shut up.
That's not Dorian.
You your name.
It's Sybil, sir.
Let her go.
Dorian's telling him to let her
I
go.
said let her go when I'm ready.
Dorian just grabbed the guy by the neck.
Be silent, both. Can stand sordid behavior and sordid surroundings, but not both. One of friends of mine quarreling over a barmaid. Now let's hear no more about this. Dorian, sit down. Excuse me.
Sir Harry's telling him not to fight over the barmaid.
Dorian.
Well, he seems taken by the wench.
Dorian's going.
I thought our Dorian was far too sensible.
Sir Harry's making out with a bar wench.
On the contrary, he's far too wise not to do foolish things every now and then.
Dorian's going after the barmaid. So they're back at Dorian's house. The picture's being put up.
Yes, yes. It's fine.
That's Basil.
Can't understand. He knew we were coming. It's not like Dorian to forget.
Dorian isn't much like Dorian these days, haven't you noticed?
No, but of course I haven't seen much of him recently.
Nor has anybody else, except for a certain young woman.
Really? Are you under the impression that he's in love?
Oh, no, but he is. Has he even mentioned marriage?
Who's the girl? Do I know her?
I shouldn't think so. It's unlikely he would have visited the place she works at.
Works?
As a barmaid.
Impossible.
But quite true.
I don't believe it. Think of Dorian's birth, his position. It would be absurd for him to marry so far beneath him.
That's Sir Harry and
If you
Basil.
want to make absolutely certain that he does, just tell him that. Whenever a person does something thoroughly foolish, you can be sure it's from noble motives. Or, of course, marriage would be silly, but there are other more interesting bonds between men and women. I shall certainly encourage those.
Harry, Basil, I'm sorry I'm late, but if you knew where I'd been and who I was with, you'd forgive me.
Then I suppose you must be forgiven.
You know? You can guess. Then you must know too, as Harry told you.
He mentioned a girl.
Oh, so much more than that. An angel, say, or a princess. Only she has more youth and beauty than either. She's going to be an actress. She has the most wonderful voice. She did Juliet for me the other day, and her voice was like a distant flute. It had the tremulous ecstasy one hears just before dawn when the nightingales are singing. Harry, why did you never tell me the only thing worth loving is an actress?
Perhaps because I have loved so many of them.
Now you're laughing at me. But the greatest romance of my life.
No, I'm not. But you shouldn't say the greatest romance of your life. You should say the first. You will always be loved. This is only the beginning.
What?
You think me so shallow?
Well, on the contrary, it's people who love only once that I call shallow. What they call faithfulness, I prefer to call either lethargy or lack of imagination.
That's rubbish, Harry.
I must analyze faithfulness one day. I think it has to do with our passion for property. There are so many things we would throw away if we weren't so afraid other people would pick them up.
Now, I've no time for such nonsense. I just stopped to see my painting hung.
Painting? Basil, I'm a selfish ass. You give me your finest piece of work, come in person to see it hung properly, and all I can do is talk about myself. I'm sorry.
I understand.
It's a wonderful picture. I'm deeply grateful.
And I'm glad. I hope that you and your young lady will be very happy.
Oh, you must meet her.
I look forward to it. Goodbye, Harry.
What are you smiling at? I wish I'd never told you about Sybil Vane. It's obvious you don't understand.
Dorian, you couldn't help telling me. All through your life, you will tell me everything you do.
Yes. You have a curious influence over me. If ever I were to do a crime, I would come and confess it to you. You would understand me.
People like you don't commit crimes, Dorian, though I am much obliged for the compliment. Now, tell me, what are your actual relations with Sybil Vane? Now, if you tell me that you haven't made love to her yet, I will be really confused.
Are you suggesting...
Oh, Dorian, stop it. You know perfectly well what you want from this girl. Why not admit it? And once you've succeeded with her, I wager you'll find her a terrible bore.
You're wrong, Harry. She isn't what she seems. You only think these things because of where you first saw her. She belongs to an entirely different world to that.
Oh, really? And you? What world do you belong to, Dorian? Because you're quite right, you know. There are two. When I first met you, you knew only the world of polite illusion, charm, elegance, chivalry. I have shown you another world. Not so pretty, perhaps, but far more real. I think you prefer it. And so I'll wager, does Miss Sybil Vane?
No.
Oh, really? The next time you see your Juliet, ask her to come home with you. And if she refuses, threaten never to see her again.
I didn't know till now just how cynical you could be, Harry.
Oh, don't worry, she won't refuse.
She won't have to. This is one relationship I have no intention of degrading.
Of course not. Curious, isn't it? In love, we begin by deceiving ourselves and end by deceiving others. Fin de siècle.
He's so bad.
Oh, and don't forget, we're dining with the Vandeleurs Thursday night.
Dorian and the barmaid, they're making out on a bridge.
No, Dorian. Please don't.
Why not?
You mustn't, truly. My, look at the sun. It's getting that late. I fancy we must start back soon. Oh, Dorian, why don't you come have supper with us?
Dorian looks
Mum
upset with
Betsy came
her.
to meet you.
Suppose I asked you to come with me instead.
Come with you where?
To my house. To stay the night.
She looks disturbed.
Well, why not? We love each other, don't we? At least you say you do. And if you do, well, do you find me
She doesn't
repulsive?
want to.
Why are you doing this, Dorian? Why?
Because I have the right. We're going to be married, aren't we? Or are we? If we are, your answer should be simple. You'll come to my house tonight, not later than 10 o'clock.
She looks shocked, worried.
This was wrong, and I knew it. I should have gone back to her and apologized. I nearly did. Then I remembered the things that Harry had said and decided to wait. A few hours at any rate. Until 10 o'clock. The hour came and passed. I admit to having felt disappointment, regret for what might have been. On the other hand, Sir Harry had proved wrong for once. For once, my judgment, my instinct was vindicated. Tomorrow I'd tell him so. It would be some consolation. And of course I would go to Sybil and explain, throw myself at her feet if necessary and beg her forgiveness. She'd have to forgive me. It was all Harry's fault. I could see that now, and I would tell him so frankly. As a matter of fact, I would tell him so now. It was early yet, he'd still be at the club most likely. There was no reason to wait.
So he's getting ready to go out, and there's a knock on the door. It's the barmaid.
I love you, Dorian.
So Dorian got what he wanted, and she left.
Sybil?
All right. So that was 15 minutes. So Harry introduced Dorian to upscale people and even the dirty side of the wealthy. Dorian rose up quickly in high society because of Harry. He also lost his morals and started visiting brothels and gambling. He said that it became a necessity in his life. Can you imagine that Dorian's parents probably wouldn't hesitate to let him go places with Harry? They probably trusted Harry, and since Dorian would probably only say how he met highly influential people, his parents probably would be really happy that Harry took Dorian under his wing. They wouldn't they wouldn't know that Sir Harry was corrupting Dorian. Harry is what I call dirty money. He is the kind of wealthy guy who gives wealthy people a bad name. Dirty money has no character, integrity, and are as low class as the filth they play with in poorer neighborhoods. Dirty money is proof that money can't buy class, and there are scumbags at every income level. I've known poor people with more class, character, and integrity than all of dirty money combined. There are good rich people, and it upsets me that they get a bad reputation for dirty money's dirty deeds. For dirty money's dirty deeds. Harry's married, and he goes to the sleaziest places and has lovers there. Dorian falls for a barmaid in one of the sleazy places. Harry says that Dorian told him that he wants to marry the girl, but the girl is not within their social status, and that mattered a lot at that time. So notice how Harry said that he would only encourage sexual relations between Dorian and the girl, but nothing more. He then plays with Dorian's mind and says that he will love more girls than the barmaid. He then goes on to convince Dorian that faithfulness is boring. He encourages Dorian to pressure the barmaid to sleep with him. He admits that at first Dorian only knew about, So Harry admitted that at first Dorian only knew good, but now he has shown him a filthy world that is far more real than Dorian's original world. Harry told him to tell the girl to sleep with him or they won't get married. Dorian knew it was wrong, but he remembered what Harry said and decided to pressure her anyway. He was relieved that Harry seemed to be wrong when the barmaid didn't show up at his house. It's like he was waiting for Harry to be wrong. He was going to rub it in Harry's face when the barmaid showed up and gave in to him. He lost respect for her after that night. Harry deliberately ruined Dorian's relationship with the barmaid. Dorian and the barmaid went too far, too fast. Harry was right again, and Dorian began to trust his advice more. Dorian was making decisions based on what Harry said. In about 10 or 15 years, when Dorian gets a bit older, had a bit more experience, and got tired of the fast life, he might regret losing what he and the barmaid had. If he went back to his original life, he would see all the wrong he had done, and because he has a conscience, it will begin to eat him up. Harry was showing Dorian how to manipulate and play people. Since Harry had done that most of his life, he was usually right and his tricks worked. That didn't mean that Harry's way of life was right. Harry didn't tell Dorian about the consequences of deceiving others and playing with people's minds. Dorian probably thought a bad reputation was the only bad thing that could happen. However, he'll find out that there are some serious consequences to living like Harry, but it'll be too late. So with that, let's go to the next 15 minutes. They're at a upscale party. Harry's talking to somebody. Some girl.
Oh, it's outrageous. The way people insist on saying things behind one's back. They're absolutely true.
You needn't worry. Women love men to have their defects. If a man has enough of them, we can positively worship him.
The man, on the other hand, will be happy with any woman, so long as he doesn't love her.
The girl's checking out Dorian.
Women give men the very gold of their lives.
And invariably want it back in such a very small show.
Do you know her?
That's Basil.
And dangerous.
Intriguing.
How's Miss Vane?
Well, I suppose.
Don't you know?
Fact is, I haven't seen her for several days. A few weeks, actually.
A few weeks.
Now, don't you chide me. I get enough of that from her. She writes every day. She can't seem to understand I've been very busy of late.
I don't think that I do. You speak so coldly of her now. I suppose this is more of Harry's doing?
I owe Harry a lot. I've developed because of him. New thoughts, new feelings, new interests.
And are these things good, Dorian?
They're real. Our lives are too short to waste. Why not fill them with beauty? Accept happiness as the truest form of good.
And are you happy?
Ah, there you are. Hello, Basil. Someone wants to meet you, dear fellow. Can you spare a moment?
Who is it?
You will excuse us, I'm sure. Come along. I'll introduce you.
Basil looks worried.
Here we are. Forgive me if I don't join you.
Harry took Dorian to a room, and inside that room, which happens to be a bedroom, is the girl that was checking Dorian out.
Forgive me for taking you away from your friends. I only wanted to say good night.
So early?
I'm afraid so. I find large groups fatiguing.
In that case, you're wise to retire.
Do you think so?
Oh, definitely.
You're very sympathetic. I thought you would be. From the moment I saw you, I thought, here is someone who will understand. Someone kind. Someone gentle.
So now back at Dorian's house.
Good morning, miss.
Is he,
I'm
So
sorry, miss.
the barmaid, her
I'm
name is
sorry to keep
Sybil,
bothering you this way. He
Stop
still
by.
hasn't returned. Would you give him this when you see him?
Why, certainly, miss.
It's the last. I won't bother you again.
Victor! Victor!
Dorian!
Oh. You must forgive me. I've just returned. Last night, in fact.
Dorian?
I'd ask you in, only I'm afraid everything is... Sybil? Damn.
Victor!
Bring me some coffee, will you?
Yes.
And Victor, if the young lady should return, I am not at home.
She's come so
I
often.
am still not here.
Very good, sir. The lady left this for you, sir.
Oh, God. Why did she have to pursue me? Couldn't she understand that things weren't the same? I was still fond of her, of course. Grateful. Why couldn't she accept that? Why instead did she continue to plague me, continue to make demands on me? She would end by forcing me to hate her. Couldn't she understand there was more to my world now than the love of a barmaid?
So he's looking at his picture that Basil drew.
The picture. There was something strange about the picture. It seemed different.
Your coffee, sir. Will there be anything else, sir?
No. No, you can go now.
Oh, go!
Had he seen? Was there anything to see? Was it my imagination? Or had it really changed? It couldn't have. No, perhaps there was some impurity in the paint, a flaw in the canvas. If so, why did only the mouth seem changed? Only the twist of lips that lent cruelty to the face. Had it been there before? There had to be some explanation. I'd ask Basil of it. I'd have him come and look. But not tonight. Tonight I would go and see Sybil. Since it meant so much to her, I'd grant her request. It would have been cruel not to. Ah, no. Tonight I was to meet Harry at the opera. I'd promised. He was bringing someone special. Tomorrow, then. I would see Sybil without fail tomorrow.
Victor, draw my bath, then put on my dinner jacket. I'll be going out this evening.
My dearest one, I don't know what I've done, what ignorant or foolish thing I may have said to hurt you, but I didn't mean it. You know I'd never do anything to make you sad. Please tell me how to make it up to you. I will make it up, I promise, even if it takes a lifetime, for I promise to spend all my life loving you. You must come tonight. I'll wait where we used to meet.
She's waiting over a
Please don't fail me
bridge.
this time, in heaven's name, don't. I can't bear not hearing from you anymore, not seeing your dear face, not knowing what you want of me, or even if you do anymore.
She drowned herself. Dorian's at the opera with the elite. Some girl's propositioning him to spend the night with her. But she's not a bar wench. She's like one of the dirty money.
Dorian,
That's Sir Harry.
open the door. It's no good shutting yourself away like this. Do you hear me?
What the devil's the matter? Come here.
I came as soon as I could. I'm terribly sorry, old man, but you mustn't blame yourself.
Blame myself?
Simple.
What about her?
Oh, you haven't heard yet.
Harry, what is it? Nothing's happened to her. Oh, God, no, Harry.
Now, steady. I thought you would have heard. It was in the morning papers. She drowned.
It wasn't an accident. No. So I've murdered Sybil Vane.
Oh, nonsense. It wasn't your fault at all.
You don't know, Harry. You don't know what I did to her. I murdered her as surely as if I'd used a knife. And yet I loved her once. She was everything to me. Oh, God, Harry, what shall I do? You don't know the danger I'm in. Why did she do this to me? She had no right.
Dorian. It's futile to dwell on it. You'll only do yourself harm and the girl no good. There'll be an inquest, I'm afraid. Do her people know you? The family?
I never met her mother. Her brother lives in Australia.
Oh, good. Then with any luck, you'll be able to keep out of it. Let's hope so. It's quite all right to debut with a scandal in Paris, but not in London. The best thing for you to do is to come and have dinner with me tonight. It'll keep your mind occupied.
Not tonight.
Oh, well, if you should change your mind, I'll be at the club. Goodbye, Dorian.
So that was Sir Harry. Dorian's just laying in bed. He looks like upset. He's going downstairs to look at the picture. And the picture changed. It has like a cruel look about it.
No, no.
So he's having the picture moved.
There was no longer any doubt. The picture was changing. How or why, I didn't know. But the lines around its mouth and eyes had grown deeper, crueler. As though it knew of Sybil's death and was accusing me. Me? It wasn't true. I hadn't killed her.
This way.
So he's going upstairs. He has people moving the picture upstairs.
In here. Anywhere.
So there's two guys and they're just moving the picture into some kind of attic. And it's covered in cloth.
Very good. My man will pay you.
If only it were the other way. If it were I who would remain always young, and the picture would grow old. For that, I would even give my soul.
Impossible.
He's looking at the picture again and he's remembering what he said.
Could those few careless words have anything to do with what has happened? No. I would not believe it. And yet, if this thing is true, it means that for every year I live, the picture will age. For every sin I commit, it will change, not I. For a moment I had an urge to pray, to ask that whatever bond there was between it and me would be broken. But this need not be a bad thing.
Okay. So that's the next 15 minutes. So Dorian thinks that his original world is fake, and with Harry, life is more real. So evil people seem to think that people are being fake when they are nice or kind to each other. They think that being mean, bad, or evil is being real. During my research, I got to observe evil. There's no doubt that gang stalkers are evil. Okay, they are the biblical evil, which is more evil than any textbook has ever defined. In their evil world, when someone is good and kind, they are trying to deceive you. Someone is only being real or honest when they are mean or mad to you. It seems weird until I observe their family, life, and circle of friends. One of the most sickening and saddest things I have observed is the cannibalizing mother. As a female with normal maternal instincts, even though I don't have children, it hurt and disgusted me to see a mother deliberately put her child in danger, to put her child in dangerous adult situations. It didn't matter how old or young the child was. I was disgusted to see mothers constantly using their children to deceive others and forcing their children to do things that kids shouldn't be doing. When the kids cried for help or sought comfort, the mother didn't even give it, at least not the real stuff, unless she needed to use the kid some more. It is sickening, but one day I want to write a book about the psychopath child's family life and how they are raised based on my observations. Any human being would rush to save or help these children, but they'll learn quickly that these children are a product of their environment, and the apple does not fall far from the tree, no matter how young the kids are. I am warning everyone about these kids. They are very different from normal kids. Only exposing this network and finding out more about this network can give information about what can safely be done about these kids. Until then, staying away from them is the safest bet. Since I had to see psychopathic moms cannibalizing their own child so much, I can look at it without wincing now. I don't even want to call them mothers. I call them breeders. I have seen animals act more motherly and show more maternal instincts towards their kids than these breeders. So if you hear me say breeder, you'll know that I'm referring to the psychopathic mothers in this network. All that explains why love and kindness could be seen as deceptive, because psychopathic moms only give love to their children when they need or want them to do something. They know their kids need and want love and affection, so they use that as ransom. Kids are mostly instincts, so they're learning that when someone gives love and kindness, it's because they want something from you or want to use you in some way. When they are angry or ignore you, that's when they're being real. That is the basics of how psychopaths and narcissists are raised. This shapes their view of the world and encourages them to be bad or even evil. That's their reality, but is it reality for the whole world as a whole? No, it's not reality for the world as a whole. For those of us who grew up in a normal home, we know that sometimes we have to hold back anger, sadness, or other so-called bad feelings. We can't always say the mean things we want to say. Yes, there is some faking things in the normal world, but that doesn't mean the evil world is more real. Evil people have to hold back on being sincerely affectionate, kind, or nice, even though they really want to be those things sometimes. They learn early on that they might get hurt if they express their good feelings. It's the same as in the normal world. Both worlds have to hold back certain feelings. For one world, it's holding back so-called bad feelings, and in the other, it's holding back good feelings. The evil world is no more real than the good world or normal world. In the good world, you can say what you really feel, but sometimes you have to say it a certain way depending on the situation. So Harry convinced Dorian that the filthy world he introduced him to was more real. But do you really think those prostitutes and barmaids were always happy to see Harry? How many rich guys have those girls pretended to be happy to see? They just want his money. Get real, Harry. He could just leave the money on the table and walk away, and they would miss him a bit. As a matter of fact, they will probably be happier than when they had to actually spend time with him to get the money. These prostitutes are not happy to see Harry, they're happy to see his money. Dorian's barmaid seems to be just entering the sleazy world and had not been corrupted yet. She killed herself over Dorian's rejecting her. Dorian has a conscience, so he realized that what he did to her and how he treated her drove her to suicide. He said that he murdered her as if he used a knife. It's the first time Dorian is seeing that maybe Harry isn't always right. He's learning about the consequences of doing bad things. The pleasure that could come from doing bad or evil things are usually quick and short, but the consequences can come slowly and last a long time, especially if you have a conscience. Dorian's conscience tries to get him to go back to good, but Harry's words and influence have taken over him. By now, Harry had totally poisoned Dorian. Dorian wasn't talking to Harry, then going back to his good world like Basil did. Basil didn't take Harry seriously, and he knew Harry was evil and saying a bunch of nonsense. But Dorian had been to the sleazy hangouts, did horrible things, and associated with evil people. He was promiscuous and careless. Harry's evil had taken over Dorian. Harry was playing with Dorian's mind and life. Even though Harry's own friends, especially Basil, warned Dorian about Harry, and even Harry himself admitted he was evil, Dorian still fell into the trap. You know, and some people who want to corrupt you or evil, they will admit it. You know, like he said, I've seen so many of them do that. Like, you're evil. And they're like, yeah, I am. And you laugh because you think they're kidding. And they're not. So, Dorian probably thought Harry was kidding when he admitted to being evil. He could think of no reason for Harry to hurt him or mislead him. Dorian was young, sheltered, and had little experience with bad or evil people. He learned the hard way that there are people out there who target the good and enjoy corrupting them. Although Dorian never did anything bad to him and only adored him, Dorian's pain was Harry's pleasure. So with that, let's go to the next 15 minutes.
The picture could be my conscience. As a matter of fact, it would be interesting to observe the changes in it. If those harsh lines in the face reproached me for my thoughtlessness with Sybil, then why could I not erase them with some better action? I resolved to do so. It would help me to lead a better life, guide me in my decisions, my relationships with others.
So he's at an upscale party, and some dirty money girl is propositioning him for the night. She gave him the keys to a door.
It had been some time since I had placed the picture in the nursery, and I had not once troubled to look at it.
It's back at Dorian's
I saw no
house.
reason to. Not that I feared what might have happened with the painting. I didn't.
Some guy just came out of Dorian's
Of course, I was
bedroom.
aware that my actions were less than perfect. But after all, they
And it's
differed
nighttime.
little from my contemporaries. But at last, I knew that the time had finally come. I could no longer carry this pathetic self-deception any further. Night after night, I had forced myself to play this maddening game, but on this night, I knew it must end. I could not walk by that door one more time.
So he's going into the attic to look at the picture. He's pulling back the curtains. Oh my gosh, the picture's aged. And it shows all his evil.
I would look at it no more. I would not allow it to rebuke me. Let it rot behind lock and key. I would never look at it again.
So now it's the smutty bar with all the
Why should I?
bar wenches
I
and
discovered the meaning of true freedom. The sort Harry talked about.
the meaning of true freedom.
I was free from the ravages of age and decay, free to search out new adventure, new sensations. Why not enjoy them?
That's a bar wench. She was talking to someone. She told the guy to beat it because she has to play up to Dorian.
I'm by myself. Harry's told me a lot about you. He's explained certain things about your daughter.
Her face
It's
dropped.
nothing to you.
But I'm interested in such things.
You.
You see, I only want to help.
He put money in her hands. She's counting it. She's thinking about it.
I've told you. All right.
Oh God, she's gonna do it. Oh, she's leading him back to her daughter. This part is disgusting.
Marianne.
She's talking to her daughter in bed.
Marianne, I brought someone. A friend.
She looks horrified. She covers her mouth and leaves. Dorian's a perv. He's looking down at the little girl.
Victor!
Dorian's back at his house.
Victor!
I'd forgotten. Of course, Victor wasn't here anymore. I'd had to let him go. I was sorry because he'd served my family for many years. But there'd be no choice. Victor had known too much. He'd known there was something in the nursery. Suppose some night while I was away, he decided to find out what. I couldn't risk that. I could trust no one in the house alone.
What are you doing?
Sir?
Told me
That's a maid.
not to be disturbed.
Yes, I remember now.
Take the things and get out.
But, sir...
Get out! Your money and references will be sent. Go!
No one. I could trust no one. It had been 2 years since I last dared look upon the thing beyond that door. Yet I knew too well what it must look like. Features seared by every evil passion. The dry and desiccated lines of a face scarred by every emotion but pity. Would it be as terrible as I feared, or less awful than I dared believe? As always since that night, when I had finally locked it away, I was torn. Torn between a sense of scorn for the damned unnatural thing and the ceaseless desire to know, to see, to read from the page of my own degradation. Yes, what is it? Basil,
It's Basil.
come in.
Dorian still at his house.
I'll be leaving for Paris within the hour. I thought it important that I talk to you first. Thank you.
To Paris, you say? On business?
Yes, I intend to take a studio there. Work on a painting I've had in mind.
Can I offer you a drink? A whiskey? Some sherry?
No, nothing, thanks. I may be gone for quite some time. I'm not sure for how long. I've sent Beatrice to visit her aunt in Canada.
How is she? Beatrice?
She seems well. Of course, a 7-year-old girl is a bit of a mystery for an old bachelor like me.
I imagine.
She still asks about you sometimes. It's been almost 2 years since you last came to visit.
So long? I hadn't realized.
Well, that isn't why I came.
Why did you?
Because I thought you ought to know that people have begun to say some dreadful things about you. Dreadful.
Don't tell me them. I love to hear scandal about other people, but my own lacks the charm of novelty.
I'm serious, Dorian. Of course, I have only to look at you to know that it can't possibly be true. Sin is a thing that writes itself across a man's face. It cannot be concealed. Dorian, you must remember that a man's good name is the most important thing he has.
Is it?
I don't want you to destroy yours, and that's what you're doing.
Dorian's looking
For example,
solemn
Could you possibly tell me why it is
and disturbed.
that Henry Ashton found it necessary to leave England so suddenly last year? Or why it is that a man like the Duke of Berwick leaves the room of a club
Dorian
whenever
looks
he went to
upset.
it? Or why Adrian Singleton... Enough!
You're talking of things you do not understand.
Dorian, I want to understand. I want to be able to defend you, but I can't look into your soul.
Would you like to?
Dorian looks evil.
What?
See my soul.
He looks evil.
After all, why not? You've had more to do with the matter than anyone. You've a right to see the result.
What do you mean?
Merely that I keep a diary of my life, from day to day. A different kind of diary. It never leaves the room in which it's written. Come. I'll show it to you. In here. This will only take a minute.
So he took Basil up to the attic where he's going to show him the picture.
You'll be able to read the whole matter more quickly than you think. Here is the face of my soul.
He took the curtains off the picture. Basil's looking at it. He's horrified. The picture looks terrible. It's like aged.
It's my painting of you.
It's like gross.
What have you done to it? You destroyed it.
Have you any idea what my life has been since I did that foul thing? See how it mocks me, how it reproaches me. The sight turns me sick. Even locked away in this room, it haunts me. I know it watches me. It knows what I've done, what I'm doing, and its vile features alter with every sin I commit, every pain I inflict. It even knows my plans. I've seen it change in response to deeds not yet done. Yet it knows.
It's not possible.
It has like warts on its face. It just looks
And
gross.
yet, if what you say is true, there's no help for you. You're not even human anymore.
It does look like a monster.
What? Tell me, Basil.
Dorian looks crazed. Basil looks scared and worried.
Monster.
say that. You
Dorian
made
has
the
a
accursed
candlestick.
thing. You created it. It's your fault. Look what you've done to me!
They're fighting. Basil fell, and Dorian just beat him over the head with the candlestick. The picture's getting worse.
Why had I done it? What had possessed me? Why had I killed the one man who wished me well? I was alone now. Totally alone.
Dorian's looking at the picture, and the picture has blood dripping from its hands. Okay. Let me see. All right. So that was 15 minutes. So Dorian's dirty deeds showed on his picture's face. It is true that the way you live starts to show on your face sometimes. Of course, nowadays there's makeup and all kinds of beauty treatments to hide signs of aging or living a bad life. Watching this, I wondered, what if the secret to everlasting or long-lasting youth is being good? What if a clear or healthy conscience was the best anti-aging treatment out there? That would be an interesting research. So back to Dorian. Dorian went from walking on the wild side to sliding down the slippery slope of the dark side. He kept getting an urge to go back to good, but Harry's words and influence kept stopping him. And I think I've been doing videos about normal kids hanging out with psychopathic kids. And I don't know if it was in one of the videos, but I talked about how psychopaths will always try to, like, if you're a bad human or a human behaving badly, and if you're hanging around psychopaths or a psychopath is around you, they'll always try to draw you back to being bad, even though you want to go back to good and you want to do what's good. So this like shows you, like, he wanted to go, like, everything. He's like, maybe I should get down and pray. Maybe I should go see her. Maybe I should apologize. He's like, no, I'm going to listen to Harry. I'm going to listen to Harry. Like, Harry's voice was always at the back of his head. And unfortunately, he listened to Harry. And Harry had such a strong influence on him by this time that his morals and his ethics seemed to be like take a wayside. And that's also because Harry gaslighted him into thinking that he needs to give in to every temptation in order to get rid of it. And that's living and self-development and all the kind of rubbish. So anyway, I mean, Harry did a work on Dorian. He really, really like, yeah. But that is why you should be careful who you hang out with, and a psychopath will try to keep you bad and evil or evil. I did bad things here and there, but I didn't go past the limit, and I always return to good, learning from my mistakes. Even if you go past your limits once or twice, return to good and learn from your mistakes. You can even start trying to be good before learning from your mistakes. So what I mean by that is, let's say if you did something that was really like when Dorian pressured Sybil into like sleeping with him, you know, even if he hadn't realized that was wrong yet, he could have just went and talked to her and, like, you know, been nice to her or something like that. But, you know, he could have gone back to trying to be good and, you know, realizing, you know, that they shared an intimate moment and not like just dropping her like that and not responding to her letters. And that could have been even before he started realizing, wow, I shouldn't have pressured her into having sex with me. So you could do that. You could go back, you could start being good before learning from your mistakes. And then eventually he would have been like, oh, you know, that was wrong, and he'll apologize or something. I don't know. But he didn't do that. And then he went to the dark side, and now he was sliding down the slippery slope. And now Dorian is a pedophile. Harry told him that some whore was selling her child for sex and probably encouraged him to go see her. This is interesting because I mentioned the breeders or psychopathic moms earlier. The breeders use their kids for their own gain and don't protect them. Harry called his filthy world the real world, but you can see how evil people or psychopaths just feed on each other. Mothers feed on their children, prostitutes feed on their customers who feed on them. The prostitutes who are at the bars are on the lookout for guys with money to feed on again and again. They will lay on the fake affection and kindness really thick to get what they want. None of these people really like each other. They just want to use each other. They want to use each other's bodies for their own pleasure or gain. How real is this evil world? Few people will actually say, I just want to use you for sex tonight. That kind of kills the mood. You know, they have to fake affection and even lust. And, you know, most of those prostitutes are faking it, like, you know, the whole time, you know, and they have to fake everything to enjoy the sex that they paid for. I say fake lust because a lot of these prostitutes don't want to sleep with the guys, paying them for one night. And there goes your real world. I don't believe that evil or bad is being real or is the real world. I just don't. In the beginning, Dorian was lighthearted and free. He didn't have to worry about what he did last night or if people would find out. He knew nobody was talking about how bad he was, and if they did, he could defend himself with a clear conscience. His friend could defend him without lying, which Basil came over to tell him, like, I can't defend you anymore. You know, is it true? So when Dorian went to the dark side, he had all these new burdens and worries on top of everyday worries. What if someone found out? Will the person he hurt revenge him? What are people saying? Has a new acquaintance heard the rumors? When he meets someone new, has this new acquaintance heard the rumors? And do they believe them? If they do, how can he deceive them into not believing them? What if the new acquaintance found out that he deceived them? All these unnecessary worries that an evil action brings, or living the evil life or the fast life brings. You know, you get into this like web of deceit, you know? It's like you're almost like forced to keep lying to hide your lies. It's just whatever. So if you have a conscience, it gets even worse. So next time someone tells you that the evil life is the free life, you can tell them to go back to the hell they are living. When Dorian puts the money in the prostitute's hand after she refuses to give him her child and says he says he only wants to help. Is he being real? Does he really want to help? No, he wants to take advantage of a helpless child for his own perverse sexual pleasure. Would the original Dorian have done this? I don't think so. Remember when Harry said, every impulse we strangle bruises the mind and poisons us? I said he's telling Dorian to give into his evil and immoral thoughts, especially the ones that Sir Harry will put in his head later on. These thoughts of pedophilia are some of the thoughts Harry put in Dorian's mind. The first thing Dorian said was, oh, Harry told me about your daughter. So that means Harry's gross. Harry probably like did the same thing and was like, oh, Dorian, you need to go try this. Disgusting. So this is probably true. And the reason why it's also probably true that Harry put that in his mind is that it's earlier, Harry put thoughts of pressuring the barmaid to have sex with him in Dorian's mind. Dorian wasn't even like on that track. He wanted to marry the girl, and Harry was like, "Oh no, you need to pressure her to have sex with you." And Dorian's like, "I wouldn't do something like that. I'm not going to degrade this relationship." And Harry pressured him into doing it, and Dorian did it. So he also instructed Dorian how to do it, and Dorian actually did it because Harry told him to. This is where a good kid is in most danger when dealing with a corrupting adult. The so-called adult would use the so-called adult will use age to pressure the child to obey him. It's like saying to the child, I'm the adult here. I know what's best. Do as I say. Even though this adult is not behaving the way he should, telling the child to do something that he shouldn't be doing. Except Dorian's not a child, but you know what I mean. If Harry has dealt with kids, then he knows what kind of authoritative tone and body language to use so that he can assert his age advantage without saying a word. As a parent who wants to raise a good child and keep the child from being corrupted by psychopaths, you have to figure out how to help your child protect against bad adults and bad authority, you know? There may be bad people in authoritative roles among in-laws, family, friends, friends of friends, or other parts of your inner circle. These types of people will pressure the child to keep the peace and not cause issues for parents by telling them. You know how many times, you know, somebody was getting abused by their grandpa and didn't say anything because they didn't want to like I saw that in some like videos of narc survivors that happened to them. They didn't want to say anything because they didn't want to like rock the boat. Some people, their uncle, some people, you know, a family friend, you know, and they don't want to. And the so-called Dholtze situation, like, oh, you don't want to, you know, me and your parents are good friends. I don't want to cause any problems, so maybe it's best if you don't tell them. And you know, why would you do that to a child? Why would you put that burden on a child? But they will do that. And as a parent, you know, everyone would like to think it's not going to be my child. You know, I have a good circle of friends. I could trust them, you know, but you just never know. And the reason why I'm saying this is just in case you do have a perv among your friends, family, or inner circle, you know, just in case, your child will know what to do if they find themselves in that situation. I'm not saying that there's pervs in every or pedophiles in every family circle or circle of friends, but just in case there is, at least you know your child, if they're facing that situation, they'll know what to do. And that's why you need to face these things, that there is stranger danger. You know, these things are out there, and you're not being pessimistic or cynical or whatever, you know, what's the word I'm thinking about? Paranoid. By thinking these things, you're being real. This is the real world. There are evil people out there, you know, whether you like it or not. So these are real issues. All parents must think about, figure out what to do, and help their kids help themselves and stay safer. So, you know, when I was younger and, you know, they were teaching us about stranger danger, and I think that was the term they used, stranger danger. That's why I'm using it. There were books about, I remember reading a book. Yeah, there were books that told you what to do that like kid could read, and it would tell them like, well, if this happens, then you know this is what you should do, and this is inappropriate. So sometimes it's just as easy. And this was like for elementary school kids. I remember reading a book. It was like about an animal who was like touched inappropriately by an adult animal. It's like the way they did it was a way that, you know, presented well to kids, so kids would know that, oh wow, this happened to this, I read a book about that, and this is happening to me, maybe I should. So it's like it was done, you know, age appropriate information given to a child about, okay, if you find yourself in a situation like this is what you should do. And I think that was really, really, really good, you know. So it's not like, so if you feel uncomfortable about talking about these situations to your kid, or you don't know how to tell an elementary school child, you know, someone shouldn't be touching like this or doing that, you feel like you're going to be awkward about it, there are books out there, and the books tell stories, you know. Like I said, the book I read was about, I think it was some kind of animal, and they got touched inappropriately, and then it was going through like how the animal felt, and then the animal realized it wasn't appropriate, and then the animal went and told an adult or something like that, you know. And it was just like, it got the message across to me as a child without like, you know, overextending. So there are books out there that could help you talk to your child, or at least get your child more aware of these types of things, situations that maybe it won't happen. And I hope it won't happen. I hope no one's child has to go through that. But there's a possibility that it might happen. And if it happens, you should help your child help him or herself. You should have your child be able to come to you. There should be none of that BS. Let's keep this a secret. Don't rock the boat. Don't tell your parents. I'll kill your parents. You know, none of that. You know, even though they'll try to say it, your child hopefully won't fall for that, because they're aware and they're like, okay, well, I read the book that said that this might happen. I'm going to go tell mommy and daddy, you know, or something like that. Or I'm going to tell a trusting adult that this person did this to me. So I think it's very, especially nowadays, like, I don't know, I don't want to say society screwed up, but it is kind of screwed up, you know, and with everyone like just thinking they could do whatever the heck they want, you know, and there's a lot of leeway, which is good and which is bad. People are more accepting of other people's like choices and the way they live their life. And in a lot of ways, that's great because, you know, you should be able to live your life in the way that's best. But I think like people who are evil are using this as a way to sneak in their little disgusting life, which is still evil, still unacceptable, and still not appropriate. An adult having sex with a child is inappropriate. Point blank. It will never be acceptable. It's disgusting. I don't care what you say. I don't care what society says. Okay. So, and I think that in today's times, someone who is into that can make like an argument for us. Say, well, this is the way I choose my life. And no, that's unacceptable. So in case someone is in that mindset and think, oh, this is an anything goes society. No, not with my child. And that's how you have to think as a parent. You may think that you're wrong. Society's not going to accept it. And you're not going to do that to my child. Okay. So you're going to teach your child how to approach these situations. Okay. And then even looking at, I know I had 2 earlier videos and, friends, even with their friends. I'm talking about adults here, but even with their friends, you know, you have to teach your children how to feel safer. Like there was a human trafficking video about the girl father because he threatened to kill her family. Okay, she was afraid for her father's livelihood and job, if told, and she didn't want to rock the boat. So she ended up being prostituted for years, you know, to protect her family and stuff. And you got to teach kids. Hopefully it's not your child. I hope it's not your child. I hope it's not anyone's child. But just in case, to be on the safe side, you have to teach your kids, whether they're in elementary school or whatever, find age-appropriate material to teach your kids that if you find yourself in this situation, this is how you should behave. You know, because it's better for your child to come and tell you and you're there with them all the way because they need you there. They need you there. Okay, they need to feel safe and protected. They're just a child. Than to have them hold this secret and like carry this burden. And this is probably why a lot of kids are committing suicide, you know. And the one thing I thought about was like, you know, there's a lot of parents, I've watched things and they were like, I don't know what happened to my kid. He just changed all of a sudden. I don't know. Or he or she just changed all of a sudden. I can't get through to him. Something's wrong. He won't talk to me, blah, blah, blah. And it's just like a lot of times when I'm watching videos about, you know, psycho kids killing their friends, pimping out their friends, you know, making their friends take drugs, or even like this, where an adult is corrupting, you know, someone younger than him. I'm like, how many, like, what's the secret that this child or this young person or this young man is holding, you know, that they can't tell their parents about? And the parents is like bleeding heart, talk to me, tell me what happened. And they can't, you know, and that's because I guess the groundwork wasn't there. This corrupting adult or fellow kid got to your kid, put these gaslighted and put these ideas in your kids before you got to your kid, and told your kids, if you find yourself in these situations, in this situation, this is how you can respond. Come and tell me. And you need to get to your child and tell your child, you know, before these people get to your children, because they are also adults. They're also like their fellow kid, and children don't know these things. They don't have the experience that you as an adult have. And you have to be able, like, you don't have to sit there and like, I know like one of the things that parents hesitate about is you don't want your child to lose their innocence. You know, you don't want to say, oh, you know, you don't want your child to feel unsafe and worried because, you know, children have like a wild imagination. You don't want them to be scared of every little thing, you know? And that's why it's hard. But that's why I think like things like that book that makes it age appropriate. Like when I read it, I didn't, as a child, as much as I remember, I didn't feel like you know, it wasn't like someone said, oh, you know, this animal's getting raped by a guy. You know, there's ways to do it where you're going to scare the heck out of a child and this child be scared of everything. But it was so age appropriate. It was done in the right way that I, as a child, understood it. And I just knew that I need to be careful, but I wasn't like scared of everybody I met, you know? So there's an appropriate way to do it. You don't want to go at it hard and have your child like, you know, scared to live. But we need to find a way to do it, you know, even at a young age, so that way your child will know, you know, that they can come to you, that this shouldn't be happening, don't believe that, and blah, 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 blah. Okay, so with that said, so yeah, so you want to help your kids stay safer. So, and you know, even though Dorian is a young man, you see that even when they go to college, it's still possible for them to be corrupted. So this is also important. It's not just like, you know, young kids. It's like throughout, you just have to be there helping them throughout every age segment. So Basil warned Dorian that people have been talking bad about him. Dorian now has a past. Okay, so having a past is not something that just happens. With very few exceptions, having a past is usually based on having made bad decisions in the past. So you can choose whether or not you'll have a past. Dorian now has a past. He didn't have a past before, but now he has a past because he's been doing like all these like things, right? So as a child or a teen, the best way to avoid having a past is to avoid adult situations or doing things that'll get you in trouble. I sound like a hypocrite because before I told you that I partied where teens shouldn't party, but I was only partying and I didn't put myself in adult situations. The furthest I went was drinking, but not enough to get drunk. And if you do drink, always keep your drink with you and make sure no one puts anything in your drink. I hardly ever drank anyway, and I could probably count on my hand how many times I drank alcohol at a party. It wasn't like a big thing for me. That wasn't the big thing. I kind of wanted to enjoy the moment, not like forget it or be too drunk to remember. So back to Dorian. Notice how Basil tells Dorian that he is not even human anymore. He tells Dorian he's a monster. Then Dorian kills Basil for calling him a monster. Dorian didn't understand what possessed him to kill Basil. That's an illustration of what happens when you take a walk on the dark side. It's a slippery slope that can send you tumbling down a hill until you hit bottom. Dorian hit rock bottom. He killed someone, his friend. It's all Harry's fault. But do you think that Harry would be blamed? Do you think that Harry would be blamed for corrupting Dorian? No, Harry will go free. Harry will be free to go on to the next victim. So not everyone who gets corrupted will kill someone. Another thing to think about is this is what happened to Dorian, who started out good. So imagine a psychopath child born and raised in the psychopath, imagine how a psychopath child born and raised in the psychopath bubble turns out. That is why I say that normal kids shouldn't befriend psychopath kids. And society needs to play it safe when dealing with psychopath kids by not treating them as they would a normal child. Because psychopath kids have been exposed to many horrible adult situations, and it is not certain how they will behave or what they're capable of. So when I observe these gang stalker kids, and that's why I did the whole video thing, the first thing I thought was, oh my God, these kids are in school with normal kids. And it made me sick to my stomach. Like every time I saw them, I was just like, oh my gosh, what can I do? What can I do? They're around normal kids. They're befriending normal kids. They're in school with normal kids. What can I do? Because it's hard, because this is not exposed yet. So a lot of you don't know what I'm talking about. A lot of you, like what I've seen and what I've observed, like even though I've been seeing it for years now, it's beyond a normal person's comprehension. Like I couldn't even imagine this. A couple of years back, you couldn't even tell me that this existed. I would just it's fiction. No, real people don't do that. Those kind of people don't exist. Kids would never do that. And so so I realized that as I'm telling you, the audience, or you, the people who haven't been through this, you have no idea what I'm talking about. You have no idea what I've seen or what I know these people and their kids are capable of. So to me, I sound like Chicken Little, So I get that. I get that because, had I not seen it with my own eyes, I wouldn't believe it. So one of the things that worried me was that these kids are in school and their parents are all for it. That's one thing. Like their parents will not correct this child. Their parents condone this type of behavior and encourage it. So when a psychopath kid or a kid that's in part of this network attacks your kid, you go to the parent, you're not going to get any help. The parent's like high-fiving the kid, good, go for it. The parent could be joining in with the kid, So, and these are the type of people that you're dealing with, parents who don't respond. And, I can't explain, I have to wait until there's more exposure for you to understand what I've seen or what I've observed. But I'm trying as much as I can to help you protect your child, protect yourself from these people, because they are really, really, really are evil. They are. And this is the best I can do. So, even though this is just a tip of the iceberg, I'm not telling you everything. I'm not, telling you the complete horrors because, like I said, you probably wouldn't believe me, or it'd be so far beyond your comprehension because it's just like so like whoa, But these people exist. They are evil, and they will hurt you, and they'll have fun hurting you. And they will hurt you again and again and again, even if you fall down, even if you ask for mercy. And they raise their kids like that. So please take what I say seriously. Hopefully, a lot of you and a lot of your kids won't have to be in a situation, won't have to face these people. But in case you do, just take what I say to heart, and I'm talking, so this is more in reference to the textbook psychopath, the psychopaths that everyone know about, the evil people and the bad people that we've all seen in the general public, not the people who I've observed with their little covert activities. So what I'm giving you now is applicable to the general public, but just know there's people out there who do worse than this. And you got to protect against them. But I feel as if showing you the textbook psychopath and explain to you about this textbook psychopath and the kids and all that stuff will be enough to help you at least, protect, protect yourself a little bit more than sitting there being a sitting duck to the textbook psychopath and the PNDs or these gang stalking ghouls. So anyway, with that, let's go to the next 15 minutes.
Be quiet, you idiots! I can remember the panic I'd felt at first, the sheer horror of what I'd done. At moments, I wondered if all this was a nightmare, one from which I'd wake. Other moments, I wondered if I'd gone mad. Hurry up! You mustn't be seen. It had taken all the nerve I possessed to do what had to be done. Fortunately, I'd known where to find men for such a job. Men whose lives were so empty and miserable, the life of another meant nothing. Meant less, at least, than the money I gave them to dispose of poor Basil. Men like those were safe. They were too fearful of their own safety to expose anyone else. With Basil gone, it was as though an enormous burden had been lifted from me. I was safe. The one link to my past and to the picture was broken. I was alone now as few men are alone, and free as no man before me had ever been. Free to live. Completely. The years passed, and as they did, I held my life close to the flame of experience, and was not burned.
Thank you so much for coming, Mr. Gray. And you, Sir Harry. Your presence always adds to the occasion.
A delightful evening, Lady Narborough.
You must come and take tea with me soon. Will you promise?
Of course.
Dorian and Basil are visiting somebody.
Good night, Sir Harry.
Charming woman. One sees in her the remains of a truly remarkable homeliness.
That's hardly a sin.
Oh, on the contrary, it's one of the 7 deadly virtues. I presume you're going on to the club. Would you be so good as to drop me at home on your way?
Certainly.
I would come with you. I'm feeling a bit tired. Oh. I wish I knew your secret.
What?
Well, how you've kept your youth. I think I'd do anything to look as well as you do, except to exercise, diet, and keep respectable hours. It's extraordinary, really. I'm not that many years older than you, and yet you don't seem to have changed at all.
I've changed a great deal, I'm afraid.
Not in your appearance. You still remind me of when I first met you at Basil Hallward's. What was that, nearly 20 years ago?
Dorian looks sad and worried.
Right.
What is?
About Basil's disappearance. Did you hear anything more about that?
No.
I had heard a rumor that he'd been seen in San Francisco. Of course, they say that about anyone who's disappeared. Must be the most delightful place with all the attractions of the next world.
Let's not talk about Basil. It depresses me.
I'm sorry. I only thought of it because I hear that his niece has just returned. What was her name?
Beatrice.
Oh, yes, that's it. She's been living with relatives in Canada, I think.
Why is she here?
Well, she comes into Basil's fortune on her 25th birthday. It's considerable, I think.
Where did you hear all this?
From Lady. They met somewhere and told each other all they knew over tea.
Does she intend to stay?
My dear boy, how on earth should I know? I presume you could ask her yourself. She seems most anxious to meet you.
No.
Why on earth not? She's very fond of you as a child, I believe.
I don't want to see her. I can't. I don't want to be reminded of all that.
It's entirely up to you. The lady wouldn't have planned a luncheon. I'll tell her to cancel it naturally. Good night, Dorian.
This hour? No, sir. It's too far for me.
There's twice that much for you if we're there within the hour.
You know what place this is, sir? I mean, where it's at?
I know.
You'll be there in an hour.
He's telling
Hurry up, do you hear?
the carriage person to drive him to this Lee's Wall place.
In all the years since it had happened, the memory of Basil's death still haunted me. Sometimes at night, or even awake, I'd seem to hear his final blood-choked cry. And then I'd remember. I'd remember the hideous thing hidden behind locked doors in my home. The picture, unnatural mirror of my soul. And remembering, dread would rise in me like a sickness, a fear that might have been of death, but that seemed equally a horror of what my life had been.
So he's back in his like
times, I was driven
sleazy
back to the safe
hangout.
hills of the city, to the only recesses where there were shadows deep enough to hide me from myself.
So he's going into a room. Someone's attending to him. I think Dorian's on drugs. She's giving some kind of like crack pipe looking thing. I don't know.
Here I sought not a cure for my malady, merely a few hours of oblivion.
So he took He inhaled something. He fell asleep.
Dorian,
So the girl who
You.
sold her child,
told me you was here. Your friend's inside. Something the matter, you better come.
Go away.
she's telling him.
But he's
something
your
wrong.
friend.
Friend?
He's sick or something, I don't know.
Where is he?
Come on.
She's telling him that his friend is sick.
Alan. Fetch me some water.
Dorian's friend Alan looks sick.
Alan, what's the matter? Miss?
You.
Fetch us a hansom, have it ready at the door.
He owes me a guinea.
Get us a cab! Can you stand?
Leave me alone, Gray.
I'll help you.
So Alan sees that it's Dorian and he's like, leave me alone.
Damn you, Dorian! You dirty cheat! I hope you rot! You hear me?
That's the bar wench. She's saying Dorian. Some guy noticed that he said Dorian.
What did you call him? His name. Say it.
Dorian, what's the rest?
Dorian it was. Not many with that name.
Okay, the guy is going after Dorian. So Dorian's walking. The guy's sneaking up on Dorian. He grabs Dorian,
You move too quick and your throat's
knifes
cut.
his neck.
That's it. Easy. Don't worry, you've got time to make your peace with God. I'd give a dog that much.
What do you want? My pocketbook? Take it.
No, I'll take your life.
Who are you?
Vane. James Vane. Brother of the girl you killed. Oh, you remember now, don't you?
Let go.
No, I've waited too long for this. I was in Australia when she died. I didn't hear how it happened till I got back. And then I began looking for you.
How long?
All I heard was your first name, but it was enough. I knew you'd come to places like this. I knew that sooner or later...
How long since she died?
You know the answer.
Tell me!
18 years, and I'd have waited twice as long.
Look at my face!
I've no need to look.
Look at me! Am I a man? Could I have known your sister 18 years ago?
Oh, my God. And I almost... God help me.
Dorian still looks young because the picture's been aging and showing his degraded soul. And he's kept his age, kept his youth.
You fool. You meant to kill me.
I didn't know. I'm sorry. It's just that I've searched so long.
Let this be a warning to you. You, cab.
I was watching you. Why didn't you kill him? He's got lots of money. He's bad as bad.
I don't want money. I want a man's blood. But not his. The man I'm looking for must be 40 now. Maybe older.
And how old do you think he is, eh?
Him? Not more than his 20s. Well, I seen it. Here, stop it. And what are you laughing at? What do you know about this?
I'll tell you about your sister, if you're the man you say you are. And about a lad who looked the same 20 years ago as he does now. Have a drink, eh? Come on.
All right. So next 15 minutes. So notice that Dorian knew where to go to find henchmen or someone to get rid of the body. He said the henchmen's lives were so empty and miserable that the life of another meant nothing. Men like those were safe. They were too fearful for their own safety to expose anyone else. So dirty money knows where to get people to do their dirty work or clean up after them. Dorian felt safe and free after he killed Basil because the one person who could expose him was gone. He knew Harry didn't have a conscience and wouldn't bother him. This is also why normal kids shouldn't be friends with psychopathic kids. The psychopath kids will try to get the normal kids to come along as they cause trouble so that they could have backup. However, they will hurt the normal kid in some way if they feel the normal kid would expose them. Dorian almost got killed by the barmaid's brother who wants revenge for his sister's death. Dorian lived by Harry's rules and lived for the day. He indulged in temptation, lust, and did all he could to hide his evils. As a youth, he made decisions based on the little he knew. As an adult, he had to live with those decisions. Not everything bad went away, and there were consequences for his actions. So, today's youth can live for the day and do what they want, like tomorrow will never come, but if tomorrow comes, they may have hell to pay. You don't have to be bad or evil to say that you had fun while you were young. Some of the things kids do today can affect their long-term health and relationship. Some of the things could make them go to jail or have a criminal record. These are things that can hurt in the long run. This is something that good kids need to know when psychopathic kids try to get them to do bad things. These are things good or decent adults need to know too. A psychopath might tell you, you've been good all your life. Let loose and have fun for once. Let down your guard and defenses and lose control. I mean, that's like in every song, lose control. And sometimes that's fun, to lose control as long as you don't lose too much control, and as long as you don't give someone control over you. So they'll say, have that one night stand, get so drunk you don't remember what happened, etc. And sometimes, nothing happens. They're right. You just have a good time. You have like a fun memory and it's all like wonderful. But sometimes you end up with an STD, an unwanted pregnancy, a stalker who can't let one night go, a DWI, OWI, DUI, or whatever else. Sometimes it does end bad. Sometimes you enjoyed letting go, and sometimes you enjoyed letting go so much you do it again and again and again until it becomes a problem or causes problems. So it becomes a bad habit that leads you to that puts you at higher risk for, things not just going okay or going smoothly. And I'm not telling any adult what to do. I'm just letting you know some things that can happen. If you take a chance or a risk, make sure you can handle the potential consequences just in case it doesn't work out. Next 15 minutes.
Ah, there you are, dear boy. Do come in.
Good afternoon, Lady Narborough. I'm not late, I hope.
You are. But I forgive you. Fortunately, I've had delightful company while waiting. Mr. Gray, may I introduce Miss Beatrice Horwood? Miss Horwood, Mr. Dorian Gray.
Dorian's not even looking, like he's horrified. Then he looks at her.
Mr.
Beatrice
Gray
is
and I
grown
have
up.
met.
Have you?
I shouldn't blame him for not wanting to admit it. We were quite shameless. I used to sit on his lap. He used to tell
Mr. Gray, Dorian.
Dorian's
Dorian,
like
are you all
turning
right?
his back and
Yes.
he's upset.
Yes, of course. I'm afraid I've broken something.
You're as white as a ghost. Come, sit down.
It's nothing.
Oh,
I do hope I haven't offended you.
No, of course not. I felt lightheaded. I'm quite all right.
here. Have some tea. Did you lunch today? I thought not. Now, where is that foolish girl with our scones? No. You both sit here. I'll fetch her.
Thank you.
Do you feel better?
Yes.
I thought for a moment.
What?
You seemed so shocked to see me. I thought you might be afraid I'd come to hold you to your promise. To marry me.
Oh,
So she's left Dorian alone with
Quite all
Beatrice.
right, really. I release you.
thank you.
Beatrice,
It's easy. I remember you as a cross between St. George, Sir Lancelot, and Prince Charming.
Beatrice is Basil's
And you
niece.
don't seem to have changed at all.
They used to have a crush
You're
on
exactly
Dorian.
as I remember. I'm afraid I must
Dorian
have been
looks
a great
nervous.
bother to you.
You weren't. Are you staying in London?
I rather plan to. I'll have the house redone in any case. If I don't stay, I can always sell it.
Yes, it was a good house.
I'm leaving the studio as it was, but it's such fun fixing up the rest, refurnishing, repainting, replacing some of those awful old fixtures with new ones. You must come and see it when it's done, of course. I shall have an enormous housewarming and invite all of London. You will come, won't you?
Yes. Yes, of course. In the meantime, I'd be honored if you would dine with me.
I fail to see the problem. If she finds you attractive and you're attracted to her, what could be simpler?
You don't understand. She was raised differently and she's very vulnerable. A woman in some ways, a child in others.
My dear boy, I've seen this child of yours.
Scoff if you like. But I'm determined not to do anything that would hurt her.
Nothing is less permanent than the wounds of love. I had an impassioned affair once, all one season.
That's
Years
Sir
later,
Harry.
I found myself next to the woman in question at dinner. She insisted on going over the whole episode, assuring me that I'd ruined her life. I'm bound to report she ate a simply enormous meal while telling me.
I don't find that amusing, Harry. Your cynicism isn't always in the best of taste.
No, nor is going about like a revivalist, condemning all the sins of which you've grown tired. Might I have my things?
I didn't mean it that way. I merely meant that if there were to be anything between Beatrice Horwood and myself, I think it would change me. It would change my way of life.
In anticipation of which you are unable to accompany me to the theatre tonight to meet two extremely appealing young people.
But tonight I have
Other plans, you told me. Oh, love must have its season. Fly to your Beatrice. But I'll save one of my young friends for you, just in case.
Put out my dinner clothes. How well after that you may go.
Oh, how heavenly. It's laburnum, isn't it? I haven't smelled them since I was little. Everything seems to be coming back to me now. Everything I remember having loved.
Beatrice.
What is it? Have I done something?
You? Of course not. It's just there are things I haven't told you about myself, is all.
I know. You're very bad. Dreadful, in fact. You have the most awful influence on anyone who comes near you. From the moment I arrived in London, people practically stood in line to warn me about you, to hint at what they thought you'd done, or what you might have been, or just possibly would know about, which seems to be almost everything.
You don't believe them?
How could I? I know you.
But you don't.
Better than you know yourself. What is it?
They were right. Whatever they told you, whatever anyone said about me, no matter how shocking, the truth...
How can you say such things? Do you really think me so weak and foolish? Do you think I don't know how it would be for a man like you? Do you think I know nothing of jealousies and pettiness and the sort of things that envious people might say? I do.
Beatrice is in love with Dorian. And they're alone. Now they're kissing.
Nothing you've done, nothing you've been, nothing that happened before can ever matter now. All that belongs to two other people, the people we were.
You're sure?
Dorian, darling, I've waited for you for as much of my life as I can remember. Everything that matters begins from this day. The past can't touch us now.
Evening to you, Mr. Dorian Gray.
So that's the barmaid's brother.
Again, did you? Shut your gob. Any talking's to be done, I'm the one to do it. Inside.
So that's the barmaid's brother, and he's at Dorian's house with a knife to Dorian's back.
This is better. No one to disturb us here.
You seem to forget the servants.
Your man comes in the morning and leaves at night. There's no one else. That's right. I know quite a bit about you now. Sit down. Finding out wasn't hard. Not after I run into some old friends of yours. If even half what they say about you's true, you're quite a lad, you are.
You've been to a lot of trouble, it seems, just to kill me.
Killing's easy. I can do that any time.
Meanwhile, there may be a bit of profit in what you've learned. Blackmail? Is that what you're thinking?
Why not? Haven't I spent my time looking for you? Lost my chances to get on a bit? Why shouldn't I have some of it back from you, I'd like to know?
Why should I pay you? If you know much about me, you know that nothing can make my reputation worse than it already is.
People don't know everything. They don't know about you and my sister.
Your sister? If only Sybil were the worst thing I had on my conscience. A girl that killed herself for love of me. In a way, I suppose it is the worst. But not for your purposes. Put that thing down while I get us a drink.
How about that fancy lady you're engaged to get married to? Does she know everything about you too?
As a matter of fact, she does.
Well, that don't seem hardly possible, do it? Nice lady like her. Maybe she only thinks she knows. Wonder how she'd like it if anyone was to introduce her to some of your friends on the east side. How'd she like to hear about you from Hook? Or from the Badger? How'd she like to take tea some afternoon with Felicia's daughter, Mary Ann, eh?
How much do you want?
1,000 quid.
1,000?
You got it, now don't tell me you ain't.
If you've learned as much about me as you say, you know better. You know about my gambling debts at least, and those are the smallest of the lot.
You're lying.
Am I? It takes money to live the way I have done all these years. Extraordinary amounts of it. I had a lot at one time, but that was long ago.
Get it from your friends.
I'm borrowed to the hilt. I can't.
Get it! I don't care where. Get it from her if you have to. Yes. That sort of thing's right off your platter, isn't it? Taken from the ladies. Well, she'll never miss it. She's got plenty, I hear.
You don't know what you're asking.
I'll give you a week.
A week?
Have the money by then. Or you can forget about marrying your Miss Orwood. Because she won't like you so much when I'm finished. 1,000 quid, remember? In 1 week.
Dorian just looks upset. So Dorian's going out of his house. It looks like it's the same night. He's getting in a carriage. He's dining with Beatrice at her house, which is Basil's house.
I wish you'd tell me. Even though you think I'd worry, anything would be better than being left out.
Would it?
Don't you trust me?
I don't know. Yes, of course I do. The question is, can I trust myself? Am I strong enough? I know we agreed the past would have no hold on us, but I'm not sure that's possible. Can I escape what I am? What I have been? Or has fate already decided for me?
No, please don't talk that way. You frighten me.
I'm sorry.
Darling?
What?
I've been thinking. Why stay in London? Why not get away from all of the people and all of the places that have bad memories? Far away. Why not leave England?
Leave? I'm not sure I could.
Why not?
Various ties, obligations. My house, for one thing, I couldn't part with it.
You could always close it up.
Yes. Yes, I could, couldn't I? Would you come with me? Would you be willing to leave England?
Oh, how silly you are. What's England to me? The only happiness I knew here was with you and Uncle Basil. He's gone now. There's only you.
Then you'd be willing.
I'll put this house up for sale. And afterward...
After what?
Dorian.
Miss Hallward.
Okay. So people had warned Beatrice about Dorian. Dorian's reputation is bad and everybody knows about him. If you haven't heard of karma, maybe you should look into it. Some people don't believe in it, but I have seen it work many times. Karma could be good or bad. It's your decision. You can also change your karma from bad to good, but that doesn't mean you won't pay for the past bad deeds. Karma keeps tabs on everything. So once you pay for your past bad deeds, good will come more often. Good karma could also change to bad, so be careful. I watched this and think of how Dorian messed up what could have been a good life. Everything could have worked out so well if he had stayed on the right path and listened to Basil. A few years ago, having no regrets was a big thing. People did things and they refused to regret anything. That was stupid. To err is human. As humans, you're probably going to make mistakes. You'll probably do some things you might regret. The most regressive or backwards thing to do is to deny you were wrong and not regret the wrongs. That is what Dorian did. He made excuses for every wrong and refused to regret anything. He just kept doing wrong things. This can happen in real life where someone who refuses to regret anything stays in the same spot or situation all the time and does not progress. Life is a journey. It's about admitting and learning from the mistakes you will probably make. If you don't admit you were wrong or regret something, you probably will make the same or similar mistakes again. There is a such thing as having too much regret and it becoming a burden. But that probably happens when people regret something but dwell on it rather than regret, learn from it, and don't repeat the same mistakes. That's when having regret is bad, when you dwell on it instead of learning from it and moving on. And moving forward, you know? And I think that's where people were scared. They see people who like live with regret and they're carrying around this burden forever and ever, you know, but that doesn't mean that's how that person handled their regret. You know, and that doesn't mean that regret is bad. That just means that that person didn't learn from their regret. But there's nothing wrong with doing something wrong and regretting it. And then there's these people who don't want to apologize. They don't want to apologize for anything. And it's just like, sometimes you just, you know, we're not always right. Sometimes you mess up. Sometimes you say or do the wrong thing. And a sincere apology would just make things right. It will help you realize your mistakes and probably help you stop from doing it again. You know, there's nothing wrong with apologizing, you know, but I think the people who don't apologize, you know, probably aren't sorry. And, you know, and there are some times where you're like, sorry, not sorry. I understand that. I have those moments too where I'm not sorry, but I'm not going to like refuse to apologize for anything. That's what I'm talking about. When people just refuse, even when they're wrong, they won't apologize, you know, and even when they're wrong and they know they're wrong, they're not going to apologize. Just as a principle. That's stupid. You know, if you're wrong and you know you're wrong, apologize. You know, if you're sorry, if you're not wrong, don't apologize. But, you know, having no regrets and not apologizing on stuff, okay, whatever. It's cool for today. Yeah, you're so fucking cool and badass and hard. Yeah, whatever. But in the long run, you're kind of like regressing yourself and you're not learning from your mistakes or moving forward, and you're not taking the steps. It's not mature. You're not helping yourself mature. So, I mean, I think people who hold that I will not apologize and I will have no regret, just I think you need to rethink that, but it's your life. You do what you want to do. You know, I'm just thinking, you know, maybe you should think about it, you know, but whatever. It's your life. Next 15 minutes.
At the risk of being forward, and though it shows unseemly presumption, would you grant me the honor of your hand in marriage? Beatrice's suggestion had given me an idea. I would close the house, yes, but I would do more than that. I would seal the room containing the picture, close it so that no one would ever enter again. After that, there would remain only one real problem. What to do about Mr. James Vane?
That's the guy that blackmailed him. But you kind of know what Dorian's going to do.
There was little choice. If the slightest chance remained for me to escape from the picture and its curse, it was with Beatrice. I could risk anything but the loss of her love. I had to pay. Not all the money at once, of course. Only enough each time to ensure continued silence and whet his appetite for more. I needed time. Time while Beatrice's lawyers arranged the sale of her property. Time in which to settle the details of our forthcoming marriage. And time to determine what to do about James Vane.
So they showed Dorian paying James Vane money. Now he's at his house. So there's a carriage, and Vane is coming out of the carriage and going into Dorian's house. So it doesn't seem like anyone's home. It actually looks like he's breaking into Dorian's house. So he's going around, it's dark, he's sneaking around, and he's going upstairs. Dorian's not in sight. He's in the attic with the picture. Oh wait, he's not in the attic yet. He's about to go upstairs. Here he's near Dorian's bedroom. Or maybe that's the attic. No, he's looking in Dorian's bedroom. Now he's going upstairs. This is the barmaid's brother that blackmailed Dorian. Now he's in with the picture. He's in the attic. He's looking around. He just lit a candle, lamppost, whatever. He's taking off the light. He's turning out the light. He opens the curtain. Dorian's killing him. Dorian's picture now looks like an ogre. Dorian looked at the picture and it looks like monstrous. I mean, like, it looks demonic. And Dorian's in bed. Unbelievable.
Come.
He called for Alan.
This is good of you. Thank you for coming.
This is the guy that was sick in the brothel.
It's a matter of life and death.
So it is. Sit down and I'll tell you. Have you breakfasted?
Yes, some time ago.
Oh, forgive me for not getting up. I twisted my ankle last night. It isn't serious.
Gray, you know perfectly well I swore never to set foot in this house again. I came because your man insisted. Now, what is it?
I said, sit down, Alan. Now then, listen carefully. In a locked room just down the hall, there is a dead man. Wait. He's been dead approximately 10 or 11 hours. Who he is, why he died, how he died, these things don't concern you.
Gray, if you're serious...
Quite serious.
I don't want to know more. Your horrible secrets don't interest me.
This one will have to interest you. I'm awfully sorry, Alan, but you're the one man who can help me. I'm to be married in a few days, and I don't have time to go looking for assistance. And even if I dared take the risk, it has to be you.
I don't know what you're talking about.
It's very simple. A man is dead. A nobody. No close friends, no relatives. I'm positive no one saw him come here, and of course no one must see him leave. Now then, you're a scientist. You know all about chemistry and that sort of thing. What you must do is destroy the evidence. Every trace...
Oh, my God.
Sit down.
You're mad, Dorian.
Sit down. I was waiting for you to call me Dorian.
This is monstrous. I'll have nothing to do with it.
Alan, I couldn't help myself. It was self-defense. This man meant to destroy me. Threatened to kill me, was going to ruin everything.
I'm sorry.
You refuse?
Of course I refuse.
You can't refuse.
Even if I wanted to help you, I wouldn't do a thing like this. And I have no desire to help you.
Alan, I beg you, I entreat you.
Goodbye.
Brighton. Pembroke. Sir William Nolan.
Alan's distraught.
I'm awfully sorry, Alan. But I did try to spare you.
So he's blackmailing Alan to get rid of the body.
I pleaded with you as I've pleaded with no man. Now I must dictate. Oh, come now. The thing is quite simple.
Alan looks horrified.
You've worked countless times in your profession. I merely ask you to use your skills.
I can't.
You must.
I'll need to go home. There are some things I must get from my laboratory.
I think it would be better if you didn't leave the house till the job is done. You can write out a list of the things you want, and my servant will take it round. Your man or someone can give him what you need. Take this away, Frederick. Oh, and bring me a sheet of notepaper and a pen. After that, I have an errand for you. Are you sure you don't want anything for breakfast?
What a jerk. So Dorian's getting married now to Beatrice.
Best of luck, my child.
Thank you. Will you excuse me?
So Harry the perv just like made out with Beatrice in front of
Very new experience, and marriage certainly is.
in front of Dorian, and Dorian didn't say
choice,
anything.
really. I love it.
My dear boy, I love art,
He's checking out Dorian's
but I don't
new
need
bride.
to own every picture I admire. Same old Harry and the same old Dorian, I suspect. What do you mean? Now tell me the truth. Would you have married the girl if Basil's fortune hadn't come into the bargain?
I resent that.
You do? Oh, then you have changed.
I've begun a new existence, Harry. I mean to be a better person. Marrying Beatrice is the first step towards a decent life, and I mean to be faithful to her.
Oh, yes, I know. How is it the young men want to be faithful and are not, and old men want to be unfaithful and cannot? Oh, come, come. I'm only teasing. You know, I don't mean half, I say.
You mean half of it?
Oh, Dorian, how happy you are. What an exquisite life you've had. How glad I am that you've never created anything. You've never carved a statue or painted a picture. Life has been your art. You've drunk deeply of everything. Nothing has been hidden from you. And yet you are still the same. Still quite flawless.
This will be the final entry in this doleful journal. Tomorrow we close the house and leave England for good.
Dorian's writing
Then
his
workmen will
journal.
close the nursery entrance, and my long ordeal will end.
Dory,
Yes, my dear.
why are you up? It's very late.
I couldn't sleep. I thought I'd get a little work done. Just details. You go to bed.
Will you come soon?
Very soon.
I've grown spoiled.
I'll be in soon.
That was Beatrice telling Dorian to go upstairs and go to sleep.
How she loves me. In marrying her, I know I've done a truly good thing at last. Harry was wrong. A bitter, cynical man. He always was. I see that now. I wonder. Surely the picture should show some proof of my love. Not a great change, perhaps. There's too much to atone for. But a beginning, a line or a wrinkle less, something to indicate what my future can be.
So he's going upstairs to look at the picture. He's in the attic. The picture is like...
Worse. That sneering laugh. It knew. It knew I had married Beatrice to escape, of course. I didn't love her. I didn't love anything. How could I, so long as this foul thing existed? So long as it knew every secret corner of my heart and of my brain, it would haunt me wherever
The picture
I went,
looks demonic.
whatever I did, until it destroyed me.
He's gonna kill the picture.
I destroyed it.
He just stabbed the picture. He just stabbed the picture. Beatrice heard from the bedroom. She's running to see. She's going to the attic.
Dorian?
She's opening the attic door, and there goes Dorian. Dead. What happens? The picture went back to normal, looking like Dorian did when it was first made.
Destiny, they say, is written in the stars. All he'll ever do, all he'll ever love, all he'll ever be. And once written, they say, it can never be changed. If this be true, as I now suppose it must, then only one question remains. Who does the writing? If I knew the answer to that, if I could be sure, then I would know whether to curse God for what my life has been, or praise the devil.
All right, that's it. So what happened at the end, Dorian tried to kill the picture. He ended up killing himself. The picture went back to looking like it did when it was first made, when Dorian was pure and good. And Dorian, the real person, it now looks like the ghoul he became. All right. So that's the end of that. That's a totally, I don't know, if you ever read The Picture of Dorian Gray in school, then that's a totally different way of seeing it, but it helps a lot. I think it helps the purpose. And if you wanted to watch the movie, I just think it's great to like listen to it and then watch it later. And if you want to make it even better, read the book. The book is really good. It goes into more detail. You're going to see how much you get more of what Sir Harry did to Dorian and how he messed with his mind and stuff. So, you know, how I would do it is I would read the book first and then I would watch the movie. Here's a link to the movie. I just posted it on, what's that thing called? YouTube. And now I'm posting it on Talk show. All right. So now you could go and watch the movie if you want. And yeah, but I think you should give the book a try. It's actually it's not a like it's like a high school reading level, so you know it's not like really advanced. So it should be easy for most people to understand, reading comprehension wise. So let's do the commentary. Dorian is now a psychopath. This shows how a psychopath can kill one day and get married the next. Now I wonder if the people psychopaths kill, then act normal the next day, if those are the people who could expose a psychopath. So after killing 2 people, Dorian thought he was doing good by marrying the niece of a good friend that he killed. Psychopaths actually think that they can do a bad thing, then make up for it by doing something good. You can't just do a trade-off like that with life. Intentions and sincerity matter. This is why some people suck at life. I observed a psychopath who worked in sales with commission. She was mean and took a sale from an innocent sales girl. She made up some lame excuse, then gave the sale to someone else. She thought she could make up for it by giving the sales girl a different sale. The sales girl thought she was trying to apologize, and she didn't make a fuss about it. She's like, okay, she gave me another sale. I guess, you know, that's her way of saying sorry without saying sorry. But there were still bad feelings and distrust. There was still bad feelings and distrust, but she wasn't going to dwell on it. However, the psychopath sales manager kept doing that and expected the same response. Life does not work that way. She tried to fix the situation by letting the girl leave work early when she wanted, but it still didn't work. She couldn't understand how giving a different sales and letting the girl leave work early didn't smooth everything over. Bad deeds are cumulative and can't be erased with a meaningless equal exchange. So yeah, you took $1,000 sale from this girl, and yeah, you gave her back another 1,000. You gave her $1,000 sale, or maybe you gave her a $1,500 sale. That doesn't erase what you did to her in the first place. What is that? Bad deeds are cumulative and can't be erased with a meaningless equal exchange. The sales girl wasn't only upset about the money, she was upset about being mistreated and ripped off. She put a lot of work into getting that sale just to have it taken away like that. There were feelings involved. You know, you can't just, you can't go back and make her like feel better about it. That situation still happened. She was still ripped off and she's still pissed off about it. So no $1,200, $2,000 sale is going to erase those feelings. She might be like, okay, whatever. I'm not going to stress about it, but she's still going to remember how you did that to her. So there were feelings involved. The sales girl also had to worry about how that looked, since the sales manager said that there was a complaint, and that is why she had to switch sales girls and give the sale to someone else. And that's another thing. Okay, you gave her a $2,000 sale and let her leave work early, but she was told that there was a complaint about her, which she's afraid, oh my gosh, how's that going to make me look? I have to make up for this complaint. And, someone switched out. It's like, and then she's upset because you screwed her over. It's just like, come on. You can't, there's no fair exchange. Life is too complicated for that. So money or replacing the sale didn't fix all that collateral damage. When it kept happening, the expectation in the psychopath manager society, when that kept happening, the expectation in the psychopath manager's societal responsibility to do the right thing eroded. So now the sales girl is like, okay, so she thinks that she could just take away my sales and then replace it with another sale. Well, she's not supposed to do that. So she's now, the sales girl is like antsy and stuff, like, oh my gosh, I'm going to put so much work into this sale. But if this sales manager is working, I don't even know if I'm going to get credit for it. I'm sick and tired of it. So the sales manager's integrity was in doubt, and no amount of replacing the sale or letting someone leave early was going to fix that. The sales manager's actions were also against company policy, and the way she went about it was underhanded. So life is complicated, and so are people. Doing a bad thing, then doing something good to make up for it is not always going to work. Bad actions lead to bad responses or hurtful responses. It's hard to make up for the hurt feelings and other things that go along with doing something bad to someone. So one little bad act could also lead to other bad things. For example, A psychopathic guy overreacted and deliberately caused a scene at a store one day. After throwing a tantrum to get his way with the employees who were sincerely trying to help him, he left a tip to make up for his behavior. The tip didn't change the bad mood. The tip didn't change the bad mood he left behind. One employee was disgusted with his behavior and became wary of the customers after him. So, like, she was in a good mood. This guy comes in, he throws a fit over nothing, okay, just to get like a freebie. And now, like, he leaves and oh, he gave a tip and she's supposed to automatically be happy. No, it doesn't work that way. So, the tired manager was even more tired after trying to resolve the situation. So here's a manager. She's been working all day. She's stressed out. She's tired. This guy comes in, throws a fit. The employee's trying to help. She's trying to help. And this guy keeps throwing a fit until he gets a freebie. And then he leaves a tip and everything's supposed to be fine. No, it doesn't work that way. Okay. So he drove away with a free item, but left behind the bad environment he created. Okay. Even if he came back and he bought a drink, guess what? You still ruined two people's day. Okay, your $5, $2 or whatever is not going to change that. So I'm saying that because a lot of people think that they could do bad and then just do a good thing later. That's not how life works. Okay, it doesn't work that way. It's not that easy. It's not that easy exchange. Easy exchange because there's feelings involved, because there's repercussions, because something else might be happening. You know, if you, let's say, you know, someone might be out there and they decide to rob somebody. Oh, I'm just going to rob someone and get this $50 and because I needed to buy whatever. And I'm gonna replace the money. Well, guess what? Maybe the person is $50 short of paying the rent. Maybe they're $50 short of getting, you know, medication. Maybe they're $50 short of getting something they need. And now they gotta go and scramble for $50. They might have to borrow $50. They don't know where that money went. You know, what happened to that money? I just need $50 because whatever. You don't know what people are going through. So now here you come later on. You stole the $50. You replaced the $50 and everything's going bad. Oh no, by the way, you gave them $200 instead. Okay, they're happy, but guess what? All they had to go through to replace that $50, the fear of being robbed again. Okay, their security, like, oh my gosh, what happened? Someone stole $50 and put it back. Is this person going to rob me again? You can't replace that by giving them $200 because you stole their $50. That's not how life works, okay? It's not that simple. It's not an easy exchange to do a bad thing and then do a good thing. Sometimes maybe it is. You get lucky and it works out. But a lot of times, no, it doesn't work that way. And I wouldn't want, and, you know, a lot of people might think that. And I don't think you should go about life thinking like it's that easy. And I'm telling you this in advance because when it doesn't pan out, you won't be surprised, you know? And that's not how karma works either. Karma doesn't care if you gave back $200, $50. You're gonna get it for stealing my $50. Okay, karma's gonna pay you back for that, and you can save your extra $150 because it's not gonna make up for it. But you know, it's just not worth it, and that's not. I just don't believe in people, spiritual groups, or people who believe that you do one bad thing, you do another good thing, and it all works out. Mm-mm. At least that's my opinion. You live your life the way you want. That's just my opinion. So that's why Dorian's life kept going downhill. He had no regrets, no remorse, and thought he could do some good to make up for the bad. You never know how big of an impact that bad deed had in someone's life. Dorian didn't know the barmaid would kill herself over him. So he's thinking, oh, I just blew this chick off. You know, I got what I wanted. I'm going to blow her off for tonight and I'll go see her tomorrow and apologize. Well, guess what? She was so distraught, she killed herself. You know, you don't know what kind of impact your little bad deed's going to happen. Dorian didn't know the barmaid would kill herself over him. You know, that he didn't know. He didn't know that was going to happen. He may have acted differently if he'd known. He could, but he couldn't make up for that one. You know, and so it's just like you have to be careful. So just, if you want to do bad or you want to do something evil, I suggest you don't do it. But if you want to do that, I mean, by bad and evil, I'm talking about like doing something that's going to hurt somebody or cause some damage or some like really, really like irreversible thing, you know, don't do it is my first advice. But don't think that you could just make up for it because you don't know what's going to happen or what kind of impact it's going to cause. So the moral of the story is that evil does exist. People who are used to playing with other people's lives and corrupting them exist. They, like Harry, would not be bothered by their evil because they have no conscience. However, Dorian had a conscience, and doing all that evil drove him mad. That is the difference between Dorian, former human being with a conscience, and Harry, seasoned psychopath with no conscience. And that's why Dorian got destroyed living an evil life, and Harry seemed totally unfazed. Harry was just enjoying being a psychopath. It's his way of life. He was used to it. He knew how to, like, I don't know, he knew how psychopathic life works and how being evil works, and it worked for him. Like, you would look at Harry and you would say, well, I guess being evil is not that bad. Harry's doing good. He's rich. He's having fun. He's still doing what he's doing. But then you look at someone like Dorian, who had a conscience and tried to live like Harry, and it tore him apart because he had a conscience. That's not the way he was raised. That's not the way, he didn't know how to handle or get out of, or I don't know, do whatever Harry did to get through whatever. I don't know. I'm not a psychopath, so I don't know what's going on in their head. I could try to understand, but I don't know. Anyway, so that's also an example of how a good kid is corrupted by an adult psychopath. By the way, Harry was the psychopath next door. No criminal record. Some people would say he's bad, but no one would accuse him of anything criminal. And he could go on hurting innocent people like Dorian. This is an extreme fictional scenario, but there are very real elements to it. A lot can be learned from this story because there are a lot of real life depictions in it. It helped show the psychopath next door and how an adult can corrupt a good kid. Harry could be the sleazeball in any family, workplace, or circle of friends. In this case, he was a friend of a friend. My commentaries were all over the place because I was trying to show how Dorian's story could apply to many people of all ages trying to be good or decent, although showing the perils a good kid faced was the main goal. Dorian was raised in a good home, but got corrupted in his 20s. This is about college age. So parents of good kids can learn a lot from this and try to figure out ways to help their kids stay good even after leaving home. It's a waste and heartbreaking to have such a great childhood only to end up losing it all while becoming an adult. So someone asked, why did you pick this film? That's why I picked this film, because I wanted to show you, like, I could talk to you all day about psychopaths and this and that and say the same thing, but sometimes having a visual and seeing it helps, the message get across, and it helps, to see things a lot better. Even though you didn't have a visual, you had an audio, but you can have a visual after you watch it. So I know some of you are bored with these types of videos. Why did she make these 4-hour-long videos on psychopaths, boring science books, and now this books? It seems boring, but you need to understand what I'm doing. I'm not only giving you fish, but I'm also teaching you how to fish. These are resources, information, and videos that you can use to help explain yourself and tell your story. That's why there's no music in many of the videos that I make, because I'm not sure how someone may want to use the video to help present their story or information. Like, if you wanted to go out, as a TI, if you wanted to go out and tell your story, I have videos out there that you could use to just like give illustrations or help you explain some of the things that you want to explain. And that's why I do it, to give you that resource, so that way that kind of like cuts your work in half, so you can concentrate on what it is that you want to say or trying to say. And I also have you listen to these books and movies so that you can excuse me, I have you listen to these books and movies so that you are so that you are not only relying on my opinion, but you can also form your own. You can agree with me or not. You can add your own opinion based on direct exposure to the material, not secondhand information. There's nothing wrong with secondhand information, but it is good to read things for yourself or research it for yourself. It's all to help you help yourself. Now you can talk about gang stalker kids without everyone thinking you are a crabby, mean person who hates kids, you know? And that was like one of the hardest things that I had to get around. I was like, okay, how do I talk about these types of kids that no one will probably believe me exist, or that they do the things they do, or that they're raised the way they're raised, without me coming off as some kind of like, oh, she's hateful, she hates kids, oh my God, or without some like gang stalker parent saying, oh, this girl is this and she does this and she talks, you know, all this crap about my kid and stuff. Like, how do I present that? That's a real challenge, especially as a TI or someone who studies this, which is still considered a conspiracy theory, and people think you're crazy anyway, you know, because you believe in this or you're saying this has happened to you. You know, people are going to be like, oh, well, this crazy girl now hates kids. And then you get set up for all this crap. And they're going to look at this video and say, oh, yeah, she does hate kids. She had this video out saying that these kids are like this and that, and that, you know, but it's just like, you know, so it's kind of like a touchy subject, but people need to know about these kids and what they do, you know? So it's like, reading this book and talking about it and then presenting the videos of real life situations that shows the types of kids these are, even though those kids were like the textbook psychopath, I can say, okay, so here's a textbook psychopathic kid. Now you see that they did this. Now the people I'm talking to you about is even worse, you know? So it's like, yeah, this does exist. I'm not crazy. So it's sort of like that. So now, like I said, you could talk about, you could talk about the psychopathic kids. I mean, some people will still think that you're a crabby, mean person who hates kids, but some won't, you know? You should also, so that's why you should still be careful how you talk about them, because gang stalking has not been exposed yet, so the audience doesn't know how these kids really are. And also, all kids hold a protected place in society, and gang stalkers know and exploit that fact. So you can say what you want about the gang stalker kids, but be careful how you say it. And most important, try and stay away from gang stalker kids. Don't talk to them or go near them, okay? Try to always address the parent, no matter how much the gang stalker parent uses the kid to agitate you. If you slip up and address the kids, try to turn the response back to the parent or so-called adult that is present, and try not to let it happen again. If you have kids, talk to them about gang stalker kids and psychopathic kids. Don't believe for a moment that gang stalker kids will be sincerely kind or loyal to your kids. You know, and I think like a lot of people think that, well, and that's what I thought in the beginning. When all this happened, I never suspected the children, you know, and I was just like, well, these are kids. They don't know anything about this. They're not going to get involved. And in my mind, I'm used to normal parents who protect their kids and wouldn't let their kids be a part of something like this or engage in the activity that gang stalkers do. So when I started out with this, the kids are off limits. They're just kids. They don't know any better. Like, I was like, I was kind to their kids just like until I learned later, thank God nothing happened, that these kids are just as dangerous as their parents, you know? So I'm letting you know that. So I'm letting you know that the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. So watch these videos with your kids if you think it's age appropriate. Okay, if this is too much for your kids, then don't watch it with your kids. So if it's age appropriate, watch the video with your kids and explain the dangers that they may face. So brainstorm together about ways to stay. And this is going past. This is not just to TIs, but also parents in normal situations. You know, watch these videos with your kids, because this is supposed to be like a video that's general for the general audience, but everyone gets a little something from it, anyway. So watch, so brainstorm together with your kids about ways to stay as safe as possible. You don't have to terrify them, but you do need to let them know how serious this is and the dangers that can come their way. So figure out ways that they can protect themselves if anything bad happens or they feel as if they are in danger. Find ways to avoid or prevent find ways to avoid or prevent dangerous situations. So, for example, there was a TI with a channel, and I think it was named Matt Cooley or something like that. And she was unaware of how evil psychopathic kids could be. She let her son hang out with kids who set her son up, and I could see how that could happen. Like when you're a parent and you're in like TI, you just want your kids to have a normal life. You don't want them to be impacted. You want them to have friends. You just don't want them to like be in the same situation as you. So you go out and you let them have these friends because you think they're not going to hurt my child. They're mad at me, but they're not going to touch the child, And so I guess she thought the same thing. So she let her kids hang out with kids who set her son up. So one night she had a video where one night while he was hanging out with his so-called friends, her kid got beat up by an adult. She said that he was a martial art expert. So she posted pictures of her bruised and battered son on YouTube. Like this kid's face, like it seemed like this guy who was supposed to be an adult beat this kid up like he was like, another adult. And that's disgusting. And no one was helping her, because TIs are supposedly crazy and this is not happening. So her son got beat up. And then one night, I bet you the kids probably lied and found some way to make her trust them again. Or maybe she found a new group of kids and she's like, okay, these won't hurt my son. Or maybe her son, just wanting to lead a normal life, decided to make friends with someone else. And that's what I'm saying. These kids are evil. Like they'll keep coming for you. They're like their parents. The apple doesn't fall far from the tree. So in a later, so one of the things that she said in another video was, and she took down these videos. So in another video, she said that the gang stalkers kept saying that they couldn't wait for her kids to turn 18. They couldn't wait for her kid to turn 18. And in her mind, she had no idea what that meant. Because, most of us in a human society usually don't go after the kid because you're mad at the parent, But in their little psychopathic world, nothing's sacred. And it's not like, I don't know. That humans do that. I mean, like, I guess, okay, I'm not going to go any further. But, I mean, yeah, I'm going to leave it at that. So, yeah, unless you're like God, you could go after the kid and parent, because by then you've done something so evil that your kid's going down with you. But, usually humans don't go after the kids. So in a later incident, she posted like, oh my gosh, when I saw this video, like I wanted to cry. So she posted a video and I remember she was frantic. She was like, oh my God, they took my baby. Oh, it was just heart-wrenching. And I was just like so upset that this wasn't exposed so that she could get the help that she needed. So she posted a painful video of her pleading for help because some of his friends had set him up and planted evidence of stolen items that he got convicted for stealing. And they took her son in custody. And after that, it all went downhill. And I was just like, I could see like her pain, and I was scared for him because it's just like, here she is. She's a TI. She's been very vocal. She was outspoken. She was an activist. And they took her kid, in custody. And as some law enforcement officials are involved in this, and for her to like lose her son and not be able to protect him or know what they're doing to him, that I could see how she just lost it. But yeah, so she posted that video and it was horrific. I was like, because no one believes in this, she didn't get the help she needs. But if, this had been exposed, she would have gotten the help she needed for her child. But that's why exposure is important. So they destroyed her kid. They completely destroyed him. He turned 18. They went after him and they destroyed him. So she stopped posting videos and no one has heard from her or about her son in years. The last video I saw, he was like on drugs, and this was like a kid. Like it didn't seem like he was doing that before. Like they destroyed a child, and it's sad. And that's why I feel like that's why TIs ask for help and they don't get the help they need, and things like this happen. And it shouldn't happen, because humans don't know and don't believe, someone when they're like crying and pleading for help. Hi, I'm a TI. I need your help. I need your help. They're doing this to my child. Oh, she's just crazy. She has these problems. All her son's to blame and stuff. But yet these psychopaths are going and they're getting away with murder. They're killing people. They're hurting people. They're destroying lives, whether adult or kid, and they get away with it. And she's going to be labeled as this crazy TI. Her son's at fault. He's just as crazy as his mother, blah, 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 and all these lies. And she could have been held had this been exposed. It wouldn't have gotten that far, and the kid probably would be fine, going off and doing normal things. But 2 lives are destroyed because this has not been exposed yet. And that's just one of many. Like, I get emails from parents who tell me about what these people, these psychopaths, are doing to their kids or trying to get at their kids or attack their kids. And it's just not right. And that's another reason why I'm doing this, is because you as a TI parent, if you're a TI parent, need to know, they're not going to be merciful towards your kid. They're not going to spare your kid. They're going to go after your kid also. And you need to be able to talk to your kid about it and help your kid protect themselves. So if her story is true and she's a real TI, and I only say that because you never know, some gang stalkers, fake TIs. I'm not saying that she is. I'm not saying that she isn't, but she is a real TI. That is one of, I'm not saying she is or isn't. I don't know. There's a lot of stuff going on with this. But if she was a real TI, that was one of the most horrible stories that I've heard from a TI parent. The gang stalkers used their kids to destroy her kid's life. And it seems that she was unaware of how evil and deceptive these people are. And they, like I said, they will hurt your kid to get back at you. And that's why this video and this session was important. And I hope it will help somebody to, start seeing what's going on or what could happen and help their kid protect themselves, help them protect themselves, even adults, like I told you, even as a good adult, they'll come after you. They'll be like, they definitely try to corrupt me. I've been staying, like I did some bad things. Not like I didn't go kill someone like Dorian, or I didn't do a Dorian. Dorian walked on the dark side. I did some wild things, but even them, they kept coming after me. Well, you did this and you're like me, we're not that much different. You're very much like us. And it's like, no, I'm not. And you need to know that. You need to differentiate. And that's why I did that video differentiating humans who act badly or do bad things from a psychopath, because they do go after the humans who visit, who take a walk on the wild side sometimes, humans who do bad things sometimes, and they will try to convince you that you're just like them and you should be like them. And then once they get you down, they're going to try to keep you down. And you need to realize that, no, you don't want to end up like Dorian, because they've lived that life. You're going to see them like, oh my gosh, well, this person's been doing evil and they seem to be living a fabulous life. They haven't gotten caught. That's because they've lived that life. That's their way of life. But you as a human who has a conscience, it's going to tear you apart. You can't live that life. You have a conscience. You were raised differently, and it's not good. You don't want to get caught up in that. I think most humans, even when they do something bad, of like I said, there's limit and boundaries to what bad is. They always know that they could go back to good, so they always think, yeah, I'll clean up. I'm going to, go back to being good. I'm going to clean up one day. And in a human society with no psychopaths, you can't. But if you're surrounded by psychopaths, they're going to keep dragging you down and keeping you low, and they're going to use you. So that's why I think this is important to even adults, even if you have been on the good and narrow. It takes that one partner. Like I said, this was showing how a friend could gaslight and corrupt another friend. And Gaslight, and Gaslight, he just gaslighted her. I forgot what his name was. The husband just gaslighted her. He didn't really corrupt her, But there are situations where there's some human trafficking videos where there's this girl, she made a mistake. She got pregnant while she was in college. And it kind of like, that's something that kind of gets to you sometimes, and you're like, I ruined my life. I could have finished college and stuff. But he took advantage of that and he corrupted her and made her into like a prostitute. He human trafficked her. That's in the human trafficking playlist. I think it's called The Links Between Human Trafficking and Gang Stalking. And one of the girls, or at least many of the girls, talked about how a boyfriend took advantage of her single mom situation, used her child to get to her, and then took her away from her family, isolated her, and then human trafficked her. you know. So it's just like, and she's grown, she's a mom, she has a kid, you know. She's like, she's not in the situation that Dorian was in. She's been, you know, she's lived life, but someone who dated her was still able to take her to the dark side. And so that's why this is important to help you. Like I said, it's a fictional story, but there's a lot of real elements to it. And this shows a lot of how psychopaths behave and some of the methods that they use. So that's the purpose of this. So let's see. So this video is part of a course for parents who want to raise good, decent kids and help their kids stay good and decent. It's also for young adults and adults from good, decent homes who want to stay good and decent. And no matter what age you are, or whether or not you have kids, you can learn something from these videos. So, and that also goes for people who, like, just because you grew up in a dysfunctional home doesn't mean you're not decent or good. There's a lot of, you know, it doesn't mean that you can't turn things around, you know? So if you want to be good or decent, these videos can help you. And maybe it'll help you like figure out like how you got to where you are. I don't know. So, the first part of the course, which I'm going to put up later, are these videos that I made. I'm just going to put a playlist with all the videos that are relevant to the topic of being good or decent and staying good or decent. So that's the first part. It's free because I wanted this information out there for everyone. I didn't want to just make a course and then people who can't afford it can't get the information that they need. So the first part is free. It's going to be in a playlist. I'm going to make the playlist, and all you got to do is watch the videos. And I think it's self-explanatory. You can figure it out, you know, and that's what this picture Dorian Gray part was for too. It's kind of like to help you like understand why I'm making these videos and help you see like what the purpose of the other videos were, you know. And it's good. It's like, it's kind of like the first part is kind of like teaching yourself and just seeing a bit more and becoming more aware of what's going on. And the second part, of course, is gonna involves discussions and watching movies that illustrate the point. And the second part of the course is a 6-week course that meets once a week over the internet, and it costs $150. It's a good course that can open up your eyes to some of the dangers facing good, decent kids and adults. It can help you start figuring out ways to protect yourself from being corrupted, stop psychopaths from feeding on you and taking advantage of you. And then that you actually watch the movie. I'm not going to have you listen to the movie. I like listening to movies, but I think if I'm going to make you pay for a course, I'm going to show you the movie. So yeah, so we're going to watch a few movies and kind of like do these discussions, but it's going to be like the audience will be, not the audience, but the participants are going to be more involved. So if you're interested in that, shoot an email and I'll see if I can get a group together. I like groups of 10 because that gives me time to like, 10 or less. I don't want any group of more than 10 because that gives everyone a chance to talk and, you know, just makes it so that there's like a good discussion. So if you're interested in that, and if you want your own private group of the 10 people you know, that could happen too. So yeah, so if you're interested in that, let me know. And that's pretty much it. So that's it for now. Okay. You will not want to miss the next TI hour. It's closer to what TI seems to like. It's the type of discussions most of you or some of you probably wish I did more of. It still has a scientific twist to it, but I think you will still like it. So it's already done. So I just gotta wait. I gotta figure out my time schedule to get it. It'll probably be within like the next 2 weeks again. So that give me time to like plan it out and everything like that. But I think you're really gonna like this one because like I said, it's more like in line with most of the TI videos that I see people with my scientific twist to it. So with that, have a good night. Thank you for watching this and all that stuff. Go read the picture of Dorian Gray if you can, and then watch the movie or watch the movie and read the book, whatever works for you. All right, with that, I'm not gonna have TI hour because I'm tired. So that's pretty much it. If you do have a comment, you could just leave it in the live stream's comment box because I'm not having TI hour random talk tonight. And that's it. So thank you for watching this and have a good night.